Every once in a while, you get a weekend that feels normal. Until you actually look at the numbers. Games that weren't supposed to be close suddenly were. Players that weren't supposed to dominate absolutely did. And a couple teams quietly told us exactly who they are right now. The league doesn't announce turning points. It just keeps moving. And if you're not paying attention, you miss them. So today on episode 35, we're breaking down what actually mattered this weekend and what it tells us going forward. Let's go. Welcome back. My name is Jake MacDonald. I'm Anything Lacrosse, and this is the game that never sits still. Leave a comment on what you want to see in these episodes, and I'll try to get it in here for you guys. Smash that subscribe button, like the channel, like all the pages, go follow all the socials, and join the Discord if you haven't already. I love that thing. I get so much great content just out of that Discord. Great ideas, and it's a great place to bounce ideas off of people and just conversations and see other people's point of view because there's a lot of really good guys in there. So let's get right into it. Today, we're going to go through two topics as always. I've got a great interview with a Mr. Ashton Brown. Great guy. Has been drafted by Halifax, recently released by them, still going to play in Porco Clitlam for his last year of junior and that last chance to win that Minto Cup. I think these guys have a fantastic shot at doing it. He'll be the third one on this team that I've interviewed. Absolutely great guy though, just amazing person. So stay tuned for that. I'll be going through all the scores each game by game as always. I'll be giving you my awards as well. We'll be going through the standings and the points leaders. And finally, I'll give you my predictions for next week. I did pretty good this week. I got one game wrong, which I think mostly everybody got the one game wrong that I'm talking about. And that would be Philadelphia versus Buffalo. Wow, that was an upset. And Philadelphia is a grindy team, but that wasn't a game Buffalo should have lost, or that was a big game they lost. That's a hard one to swallow, to be honest with you, as the three-peat defending champion. So first thing I want to talk about today is Brett Dobson being the Patrick Waugh of the NLL. We have to sell this first off, because this is an amazing, it actually probably might be my best take ever, to be honest with you. I didn't realize that when I was saying it, nobody had thought of this yet, because to me, when I look at it, it makes perfect sense. But I've seen, shout out to OTCB, Patty for shouting me out and talking about this. And Teddy there was kind of asked about, well, where's comparison come in? And so, I'm an old school hockey fan, right? I've been watching hockey since I was like a young kid. I watched the Colorado days where they were the top dogs like Joe Sakic and Patrick Waugh and all those guys. Obviously, still super young when he was played in Montreal as well. Patrick Waugh, there's moments that he had that I don't think any other goalie will ever have in the NHL. So it's a very high compliment when I say this. To talking to more towards Teddy for this, the OTCB just had Brett Dobson on for an interview. So after the interview, that's when he Patty gave me a shout out and said, this is the comparison I made, and that he wanted to ask Brett Dobson about it. Now, Brett Dobson, in all fairness, he did message me. He's a great guy, man. So people tagged him in the video I made about it, right? And so he messaged me a picture, actually, and he messaged me him and Patrick Waugh and said, it's funny you say that. Ran into him last week in Edmonton, so they got a picture together. And like, even if you're, in lacrosse, you're a hockey goalie, like Patrick Waugh is a legend in sports. I think every Canadian can remember watching him grow up and enjoy his play. And, there's a big argument to be made that he's the GOAT. And I definitely see that argument for sure. I'm more of a Broder guy myself. But when I made this comparison, just to address Teddy here, because this is he was like, well, how does this make sense? Well, if you watch, and Pat kind of went into it with him. He's like, because I think it was basically after he got that cross checks, he gave it to Ian McKay behind the net. And that's when I said it, right? And because that's what Waugh would do too, man. Like, and that's Dobson. Like, he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've talked to him, super nice guy, but he's not going to take any shit. And he's going to stand up for himself. And I love it. Like, I love to see that. The passion he's got. Like, he's a big reason why I'm slowly becoming a Georgia fan. Like, shout out to Georgia. They're the first team to ever comment on my stuff on TikTok, too. They're the first team to do that. But, so I've already kind of got a soft spot for Georgia because of that, to be honest with you. But Brett Dobson, man, like, he is, in my opinion, it's like him and Del Bianco right now that are like 1 and 2. It's unfortunate because Ward's right there, too. Dylan Ward is right there. It's just, it depends. It's those three for sure, right? They're cream of the crop. They're top. They're ahead of everybody else. They're on top of the league right now. So for me, Dobson to me is like our Patrick Waugh, and then Del Bianco is more like a Broder, right? That's what I look at. Like, that's how I look at them when it's like that rivalry between them. Who's the best goalie? They're both elite, and those two goalies specifically in the NHL are considered. That's the debate of who the best goalie in the league. You could throw Hasek in there. So it's the same kind of thing with these three. It's like, who's the greatest goalie of all time? Now, Matt Vince kind of throws a wrench in that, because look at what Matt Vince has done, right? He's kind of the GOAT. Like, Matt Vince is the GOAT. But if you're talking about like current goalies, now Matt Vince is obviously still in the league, but it's not like he's playing at like 28-year-old Matt Vince, 35-year-old Matt Vince. He's not at that same level. It's different. You see it. and just what he's done is absolutely amazing, right? Like, and there's no doubting that Matt Vince is the GOAT. Okay, the GOAT and goalie, and also there's an argument to me that he's actually the GOAT as well. So when I say this, but I look at Matt Vince almost like an old school goalie, like a really old school goalie. And I guess Martin Brodeur and Patrick Waugh are probably old school goalies now. But when I was growing up, it was very like that was the rivalry between, who was the best goalie, and they were currently in the league. And it was always like what we talked about. And there was a big debate about it. And it was great because they're both so good. And that's where we're at right now. The same spot that the NHL was in back then. We're right here in lacrosse where you have Brett Dobson, who's like absolutely fiery goalie, will rip your face off, goes out there and makes these amazing saves, and consistently, especially this season, has been consistently just top-notch best goalie in the league. But then you have Delbs on the other side that's also putting up an amazing performance, which is like more Martin Brodeur. And even if you like, it's just crazy when I look at this stuff and I'm like, man, these are just, and I'm not saying like, I'm not really comparing Delbs to Martin so much, like Brodeur so much. It's more just that rivalry between those two, like who is the best. And you can make the same debate about who is the best between like Brett Dobson or Delbs. Like there's a debate. Before the season started, everyone was like, Delbs is the greatest goalie in the world. I have to say Brett Dobson is the greatest goalie in the world right now, but not even just right now. I'm talking field too, guys. Go look at his field accolades. Putting aside all the box stuff, field. All he's done is accelerated his box game up to his field level game. So that's where, with him, that's where I'm at. That's why I say he's like Patrick Waugh, is because he's super top level elite, might go down as the greatest goalie of all time. I know it's early, but if he can continue to play at a pace like this, it's insanity, the numbers, right? Then you got, and especially if he can start pulling championships out, like Georgia's a contender this year. Georgia is a contender this year. They are. And the passion he has for lacrosse. Like if you go listen to the OCTCB interview with him and listen to them talk about him before and after as well, he's got some of the best passion in the league. To be honest with you, I know he probably does. I don't know if he would want this. And I said this on another podcast too. He is the guy that I could see selling as the face of the league, to be honest with you. Brett Dobson, because he comes from the mecca of lacrosse and he's got the numbers and the talent to back it up. He's got the accolades from field. All he needs to go do is win a couple NLL championships. And I mean, he's, who a better face, and he's charismatic, and he gets on social media. Like, I don't want to put that on him because it's such a stressor. But to me, the face of the league right now should be give him the torch. Give him the torch, straight up. Sell this motherfucker like you've never sold anything else in your life, league. I'm telling you right now, Brett Dobson is your golden goose. And I know, again, here we go. I don't want to be putting this pressure on Brett Dobson to be saying this, but in my opinion, from a marketing standpoint, when I look at it and all this different stuff, I think he's or the closest guy we have at least to it. So now all we need you to do, Brett, listen, all we need you to do is go date an A-list celebrity just for a couple months. You don't got to do it long term. I don't even know if Brett Dobson has a girlfriend, honestly, but go date us an A-list celebrity so we get some, have a Travis Kelce situation over here in the league. Okay. That's all we need. Seriously. I know that's a joke, but that's what we need. We need one of these guys to go date an A-lister. I'm telling you, or somebody like a big, huge, super, like a massive social media person or something in order to try to bring fans in here, guys. Like, I know that might be a little bit closer to prostitution, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's what's going to be the moment for us. And I think Brett Dobson, in my opinion, like I said, he could, like, if you're talking skill, personality, and just, well, like talent, personality, and the way he has a presence, and he has a presence on online, as well as his love for the game. I don't think there's anybody that matches it. I really don't. And with that whole combination currently, that's not kind of on the second half of their career, there is nobody right now, in my opinion, that does it like Dobson. And on top of that, you sell the rivalry between Del Bianco and Brett Dobson. They can like each other. They don't have to be sitting there talking shit. I would appreciate that as a fan, and I think that would be hilarious. But at the same time, I'm sure they both just super respect each other, and they wouldn't go into that, right? But the league can sell that. The league can sell it like, when they play each other, I want to hear, battle of the GOATs, something like that, like battle of the best goalies. Who's the better goalie? This is going to be the game to show it. Like, sell the stuff out of this. So back to my original point, because I got off topic again, talking about Brett Dobson. I compare him to Patrick Waugh because of his skill level, his aggressiveness, and the way he's outspoken. Those are the three things to me is why I compare him to Patrick Waugh. And I do stand behind that statement. I just don't think Teddy even heard that, to be honest with you, when Pat was bringing that up. So maybe that's what he kind of was like, where's the comparison? But go watch some old videos from Patrick Waugh. Look at his stats. Go look at Brett Dobson's stats. Look at some of the stuff he's been highlighted doing. You'll understand what I'm saying. So that's my first topic of the night, boys. And shout out to Brett Dobson for doing what he's doing in Georgia, and also just being a genuinely good human being, because he messaged me no problem. You know what I mean? Like, and this is the thing about, I find so funny in this league. Like, I am basically a very small creator, especially when you consider like my Instagram numbers and my X numbers and all this stuff. Like, I'm small. Like TikTok, I'm just about to hit 5K. But as of right now, I understand I'm just a small creator. So I do appreciate anybody who does come on here and give me the time, because at the end of the day, I think I'm cementing myself as one of these, lacrosse media people and I think I'm continuously growing for sure. So I'm hoping to be considered lacrosse media. I don't know if I'm considered it. Like when I hear them talk about it, like other lacrosse media guys, I don't know if I'm in that bucket yet. Like if I'm just, I don't know how I'm looked at by the rest of the league yet, I guess, or like the other my. I don't even want to call them my peers. Like I don't know if they'd be my peers yet. Like the other lacrosse media members, right? Like I don't know how they look at me. I don't know if they look at me like I'm just some crazy fan on social media, just throwing my takes out, or if they consider me to be more of like serious lacrosse media person in a sense. Now, not serious in the sense that I'm going to sit here and like, you know, fucking, I don't know, like be all dressed up in a suit every day, but serious in the sense that they know, I'm producing a podcast twice a week. I produce content every so often and, or like every day, multiple pieces of content a day. And I'm trying to grow this league as much as I can and doing my part as a fan and also as an ambassador for this sport. So there's my 2 cents on that and that whole topic. So topic 2, we're going to start off with something. So this week I had my first viral video on TikTok. So currently it's sitting at like almost 435,000 right now viewers. So it's got 434,000 views, 1,673 likes, 390 comments, 143 shares, and 425 saves. It's insane, guys. I got 122 followers off of it on TikTok, and it's not a lacrosse video per se. It's more like a hockey video about a creator that want just go look at my TikTok or it's Instagram or wherever, and you can kind of find the lore about what happened. But essentially, Bauer just was really rude to a smaller creator, and as a smaller creator, I take offense to that because they like baited her by offering her a collab and then actually basically telling her she had to take down her video that she was promoting their product on. They're a joke. It's free advertising, and her videos don't do that great. Like they're not like she's not a massive creator, so they're not getting thousands of views. This video, of course, blew up over 1 million views. But I won't be buying a Bauer jersey now. I won't be buying any more Bauer equipment. I won't be buying jack ship because of this. So, and I'm gonna hopefully have her on the podcast like later this week or something. I don't know if I'm gonna put her in a special episode out for it, or if I'll just have her in one of my next podcasts. But there's definitely want to have her on and talk some. She used to play lacrosse. She told me I messaged her. She used to play lacrosse as well. So I'm big on trying to get this game grown. So I think bringing on all lacrosse people is not the way to do it. There's lots of people you can go watch their podcast for that. I'm trying to, talk about something I love, but also expand. And I think hockey fans are the easiest ones to hook in. So that's what I always say. So with that, my second topic is that's a whole topic in itself, honestly. That's a whole topic in itself, is that whole Bauer situation, okay? So that's a rundown pretty much of what happened, though. If you guys wanted more in depth, I could go into more in depth. I'll talk about it on the episode I bring her on, maybe, or something. But yeah, I'm just not gonna. If you want to know about it, go look at my TikTok, go look at my Instagram. I posted it all on there. It did way better on TikTok than it did on Instagram, but that's mostly. I'm still, I post three. I try to do 2 to 3 short form content a day, plus the podcast, plus. So I'm trying. And my X and stuff. So, I'm posting on my X a couple times a day. I try to do as well. Look at that as my morning, like, newspaper almost. So with all that being said, guys, let's get into the actual second topic. I guess that was like a topic 1A. The second topic I want to talk about is, this is actually brought up by one of my followers in my Discord, which again, join the Discord. But the teams need to figure out how to market, especially the teams that they need to figure out how to bring people in, okay? Each individual team has to do a better job. Now, one of the ideas that was brought up in my Discord was having a party bus, and they used to do this. Apparently, Saskatchewan used to do this. This is great for especially teams that are out of the downtown core. We're going to have to figure something else out for Toronto, because we're going to go over it when we go through each individual game. We'll go over the whole thing of it. But I'm telling you right now that these numbers need to be brought up. It's not good enough for a lot of these teams. Saskatchewan, Georgia, all this stuff, right? Georgia's is in its own category. Saskatchewan specifically. They used to have a party bus that would pick people up from downtown, take them to the game, then drive them back downtown, and they could party. You could keep partying. That's the thing that's an amazing idea. Why do we stop doing that? And somebody said a lot of the ideas that they were doing before 2020, they didn't carry over. Why not? Bring them back. Whatever you were doing before that brought fans in, because that's the thing. They used to have packed houses, and now they're like, I think they were at like 4,500 this weekend. We'll go through it to be sure, but that's not enough, guys. That's not enough to keep, and especially when Edmonton is chomping at the bits to get a new team. That team's going to go back to Edmonton if they don't start showing up in Saskatchewan. Like, logically, right? That's what I would think anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off base here. But I can tell you, I don't know what the issue is, because the Rough Rider fans show up like crazy there. So what's the issue there? Why aren't fans not showing up? And I think the party bus thing would be a really good idea. And if a bar downtown Saskatchewan could adapt it, or Saskatoon could adapt it into like almost like they're like the before and after, bam, you know what I mean? What a great thing. How about the bar set something out, because tickets got to be dirt cheap there. How about the bar set something out, or go down to a bar down there and partner with them, so they give out a drink beforehand or a drink after, or a meal or a discount or something. Get something going there, please. That's my whole point. The party bus thing I think is amazing, and also just like billboards in Hamilton, but things on buses. I think buses are a good good advertising. I've never seen a lacrosse team on the back of a bus. Maybe again, I'm not in the right cities. Maybe it's not happening, but like that's a great way, because buses are flying around everywhere and they get so much viewership, right? So put it on the back of the bus, put it on the side of the bus, put it on something. I don't know. right? Toronto is a different approach than Saskatchewan. I think Saskatchewan is the issue is they're not downtown. Toronto, I think it's just they just came back. It's like, and their Toronto team, they're in Hamilton. Like, there's a bunch of different marketing things there. They're blunders, but like we have to figure out how to get these fan attendance up. That's 1,000%. Okay, you can't tell me that there's not other markets that could put in more people than 4,000, 5,000 people a game. There is, right? I guarantee you there is. So we need to figure it out. So now I'm going to get into just run through scores for you guys real quick. 16-15 Vancouver. You had Saskatchewan beating the Seals 12-9. You had Vegas losing to Georgia 12-9 as well. You had Philadelphia beating Buffalo, the upside of the weekend. Cost me $400. Oshawa versus Toronto. Toronto won 12-10. That's a season-ending game for Oshawa, in my opinion. Then Calgary versus Ottawa. Ottawa beating Calgary 11-9. 6 games on this weekend. They were just absolute bangers. We're going to go into that. So there's the recap for the weekend. Just a quick little recap. Like I said, we'll run into that a lot deeper going forward here after the interview. So let's get right into the interview, okay? Ashton Brown is, first off, he was nice enough to come on. I've interviewed 2 of his teammates, and shout out Levi Tui, who is my second most watched interview now, or listened to interview. So shout out Levi Tui for, kind of giving me his name and being like, oh, have you reached out to Ashton yet? Because he's from the East Coast. I live in the East Coast, and he's going to Dartmouth for university for mechanical engineering. I live in Moncton. I'm only about an hour and a half away from Dartmouth. Well, 2 hours away from Dartmouth. And he's just such a great guy. I think he underestimates how much actually he's doing, because he just like seems so calm about it. But we'll get into that. You're going to see that here. Great lacrosse player, has had some ups and downs. Coming from the East Coast, I think it's absolutely this much harder to go pro or to go play at a high level when you're in the East Coast, and you have to kind of, get yourself those opportunities, essentially. And he did that. So we're going to go all into that. We're going to go through just his playing career, all these different things. You guys are going to absolutely, it's just an amazing interview. He gives a lot of great insight, and I could have talked to him all day, like a lot of these guys. Anybody who loves lacrosse, I can talk to all day. So without further ado, let's get right into the interview with Ashton Brown, and let's go. So today I'm here joined by Ashton Brown, a goaltender in the Halifax Thunderbirds organization. Ashton's a Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia product who played junior at home with the Dartmouth Bandits, then headed to Port Coquitlam Saints, where he helped push their first Minto Cup appearance. Halifax selected him 52nd overall in 2024 NLL draft, and has been balancing pro lacrosse with Dalhousie mechanical engineer student. So how you doing, Ashton?
Good.
So man, that's quite the impressive resume. So starting off, just tell me how you kind of got into lacrosse. What made you like it?
My whole family was pretty big into hockey and lacrosse. My uncle was actually the Canada Games goalie for Team Nova Scotia back before lacrosse was removed from Canada Games. So him and his his kids started playing, and then me and my brothers followed along suit. So it's always just kind of been a big part of our family. And then, we were all playing hockey for a while, but it all fell away in comparison to lacrosse. We all fell in love with it.
Do you remember when was there a specific moment you really chose kind of lacrosse over hockey?
There was probably a couple moments. I was never the best skater when it came to hockey, so I was always good but not great. And I was a pretty competitive kid growing up with 2 older brothers. I really enjoyed winning and competing. So when you're not the best skater in hockey, but you want to compete and you're playing at the lower levels, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. So, couple times of when I chose, I decided lacrosse was for me instead of hockey and so forth. The first time I went to a lacrosse nationals, my oldest brother was playing in 2013, I want to say, in Whitby, Ontario, his Pee Wee year, and I went along and watched it, and I just fell in love with the sport since then. And then I played kind of both hockey and lacrosse all the way through, and then when I got to about Bantam hockey, I think it's U15, U14, somewhere in there, I just realized that it wasn't really working to do both, and I kind of decided that I really wanted to focus in on lacrosse.
It seems like the East Coast guys that really want to accelerate their game or go to that next level, they have to go out west or to Ontario. So how do you find, comparing to now, and how do you find the East Coast lacrosse at the East Coast has grown in East Coast Canada?
It's grown a lot. Since the Halifax Thunderbirds have moved here, it's gotten quite a bit bigger. It kind of had a weird trajectory of lacrosse. It was kind of big when I was younger. In the U13, U11 ages, there was a lot of teams in the leagues, and then slowly the lacrosse registration kind of fell off. And then when the Thunderbirds came here, the registration just skyrocketed, and the development is getting better as guys that have played away in Ontario or in BC are now coming back to do more coaching around the province.
Yeah, I find Nova Scotia, I'm in New Brunswick, in Moncton specifically, and I find Nova Scotia is they're quite a bit ahead of New Brunswick's teams for the most part. We will get you guys occasionally, but if you're going lining up division after division, you guys probably get us out of 7-8 times out of 10 kind of deal.
I just find in recent years we had a couple good coaches from Ontario come in and try and help out our program a few years back, and that really kind of started the train of guys going away to Ontario and BC to play. And then it's been pretty big on kind of looping back and having our players come back. And from what I see with New Brunswick, at least, I know a couple of guys I've played against that are now playing D1 in the States or D2 in the States or Ontario Junior AB that are in the process of doing that. And I'm sure when they come back and are living back in New Brunswick full time, we'll probably take over that of helping build up the program.
Yeah, I think it's definitely growing down here. It's a growing sport. I think every year, I know the numbers are up from last year and stuff, and I will see how the numbers come out this year. But I know registrations are moving in the right direction anyway, so that's exciting. Tell me a little bit about Cole Harbour, like there, because I know it's such a hockey city with like McKinnon and Crosby coming out, and it's such like a little pocket. Kind of give me a little rundown on that area.
Yeah, so it really is just a hockey central like population. Really, like our hockey programs one of the strongest around in Nova Scotia, I'd say, at least when I was playing, of like high registration numbers for a little pocket of community that wouldn't have that high of registration in many other sports and such like that. Like even growing up playing lacrosse, there was never like a Cole Harbour like team or association, anything like that. We all went to Dartmouth, which is the greater city around Cole Harbour, but it kind of speaks volumes to how big hockey is in Cole Harbour with the development of guys like Crosby and Nathan McKinnon who come give back and are good examples for kids of where they can go through hockey. So it's interesting to see just how big hockey is in comparison to a sport like lacrosse in the same town.
Now, when did you kind of realize that you were going to take lacrosse seriously or get drafted? Kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, so when I started playing goalie when I was 9 or 10. It would have been one of my first years at 11. I just loved it. I fell in love with playing goalie. I also at the time wasn't the best runner, so it kind of took the chance of like, wait, I don't have to run if I go in net. And then all of a sudden it's like my two older brothers are shooting on me in the backyard. And I'm like, damn, I love this. So I really just fell in love with it from there and kind of stuck with it. And then when I hit youth, and that's when they start doing lacrosse nationals. So I tried out my first year and I kind of wasn't sure. I didn't think I had a great tryout, but sometimes you're your own worst enemy when you're thinking about how you did. Turns out I made the team, went to my first lacrosse nationals. And I mean, our team wasn't great at the time. Like it's still, that's the biggest thing with our kind of minor program in provincial and such. Like our younger age groups don't do great because they don't really have that experience playing at the higher levels. But as they get going up the age groups, they kind of get more and more of a hang of playing at a higher level when they go away to nationals. So we were getting kind of pumped, to put it nice. At nationals, I loved it. I think our goalie coach at the time, Chris Susi, looked at me during our game against Team Ontario, and we might have been losing like 17-1 at this point in the third period. And he's like, "Are you okay? Like, you doing okay?" And I'm like, "I'm loving this. I've had like 110 shots. Like, this is great." And he's like, "What? Is he okay?" So I just fell in love with it. Like, it really saw that like the lacrosse is really competitive around Canada, and that there's a place for it. So I just, from then on, I fell in love with it. I still go back and play hockey in the winter, but I'd be waiting for lacrosse season every year.
Yeah, my son actually was playing goalie part-time last year because we didn't have a goalie, so he ended up stepping up, and we had another kid that really actually ended up liking goalie as well. But it was the one game he was in, and we played a team Nova Scotia, and it was just, they were a rep team, so the coach told him like, "Hey man, like you're gonna get," he didn't tell the rest of the team this, but he's like, "Hey man, you're probably gonna get lit up, so don't worry about it." And I think we lost that game like 12-3 or something. It was it's definitely, there's levels to this game. So do you find, like, where would you put like the ECJLL, East Coast Lacrosse League there? Where do you compare that to like an Ontario League? Is that like more, do you find it's like more of like a junior B, like the OJBLL kind of level, or is it even lower than that, do you find?
I don't want to give any disrespect to the ECJLL. They're doing well. Of like they've done a good job of developing it. It's getting better and it's getting more competitive. Where for a long time it was really one sided, and you'd have Halifax go for like 4 years in a row that they'd win, and then Dartmouth for like 5 or 6. So they've done a really good job of kind of making it more competitive and fair. There's definitely guys in the ECJLL that can be your higher end junior B, junior A guy, or higher end junior B, kind of middle end junior A guys in Ontario and BC. I really think that it really comes down to like their determination of, some guys just don't want to follow it. They don't see somewhere else to go with it. So they just want to play for fun. That's great. But on the other end, then I just would say it's not up to the same level as like an Ontario junior B. There's probably some Ontario junior B teams they could compete with, but then there's also probably some top end Ontario junior C teams in your big programs like your Orangevilles and your Whitby areas that would also give the ECJLL a good run for their money. So it's definitely, there are guys that could play at that junior B, junior A level that are still here playing in the EC, but the talent can fall off. And I don't want to say fall off, but it definitely it's not as stretched wide as it is in Ontario or BC. So the teams themselves are a little bit weaker.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I look at. Like when I go to tournaments and I was watching some of the older guys play last year and stuff, like it would have been like that top minor level almost. I noticed that like there's some really good players out there, but then when you watch, like I just find the OJLL is like kind of the cream of the crop of the, like I find that's kind of the best lacrosse in Canada probably, or I know the West Coast guys will tell you they are, and I know kind of walk me through that whole thing, like where do you find the West Coast is as top tier? Like I know I'm not talking so much about like Poco and stuff, because that area Coquitlam so deep and so invested, and same as New West, but like in general, do you find it's almost harder every night to play in like the OJLL compared to out west?
I obviously don't know for sure. I haven't ever actually played in the OJLL. I had a couple tryouts before I went out west, but never anything of like a mid-season game or anything like that. I'd say from a spectator's point of view, it seems like, again, it's a larger talent pool in Ontario. Just there's more lacrosse population, so I do think when you get down to it, just every game could be a little bit more intense. I, again, don't really know. I know in BC, there's sometimes those years where a team has a really off year. Like Langley had that run for a little while where they couldn't put together a win. And I think it comes to a point of like, there is really good talent out in BC, but because there's almost the same number of teams in BC and in Ontario, and the lacrosse population in Ontario is way bigger. It's like you look at like the B associations in Ontario, and there's, I don't know the exact number, but I think there's 40 plus. And then you go out to BC and the junior B tier one, there's 12, maybe 15 teams for what I know of. Like, so it just shows the level of like, there is just more talent in Ontario spread out. Whether that talent's better is a different story.
Now, how do you find adjusting to all the different rule sets? Because every kind of league, I know they're trying to unify this, but every league up till this point has really been different set of rules. So, and different net sizes too as you go up and down and stuff like that. So, what, like, kind of run me through that as well.
Like going out west from here wasn't too bad because it was at the time still like the same rule set. The only thing that did throw me off a little was they were still letting crease stabs go, even though that wasn't the rule at the time in the league. The 10-second, or they were doing the 8 or 10 seconds. I can't remember what it is in junior, over half, and the second side of the crease, but that wasn't anything huge for me. I think we tried it out here in the ECJLL before I went. They did 5 seconds out of the crease, 10 seconds over half, taking away a second in each spot, 4 seconds out of the crease, and 8 over half wasn't a huge difference because the guys are faster than they get past dagger. All that sort of thing. The big changes going in the NLL rules after playing Junior A out west. The spoons, the larger nets weren't as big of an issue as you'd think. They had 3 inches, so it's about 1.5 inches on each side of your shoulder. You do start to notice a little bit when you get a guy like Randy Sass coming down at you and shooting on you, or Clark Peterson, and it's like, oh yeah, you just ping the corner, that's going in. But the spoons was kind of the bigger change. I'd never really used the spoon for one half of an ALL game in Ontario that I played, and that was about it until I went out to the first tryout with Halifax, and I was like, well, hopefully this goes well, because my plan was kind of just use the spoon. I'd practice with it a couple times around here, but I was like, just kind of play your game normally, have the spoon, and just kind of show you can work. You're not taking a 19-year-old goalie off of how well he's making a save today. It's how well he can make a save and things like that. It's obviously a bit more for development, but I still was putting an effort forward and trying with it. It's just the spoon adds a whole different level to the game from having a wooden stick or a wall where you have so much of your 5-hole covered up.
Now, do you prefer a wooden stick first off, and do you think that that's kind of, we should try to get on the same page of getting all the same like equipment and in all these like in all these different leagues?
I mean, I think ideally you would, but I do understand the aspect of tradition with the wooden stick, so I don't think we're ever getting away from that. I think we should, like, it is a good way to show respect from where the game came from with the wooden sticks. I'm about 50-50 on it. When I was before I had gotten drafted, I'd use a spoon here or there. I didn't love it, but I loved using a wooden stick. And then kind of midway through last year, I started realizing I was like, I like using a spoon a lot more than I would have thought I did. Once you kind of get the hang of it, being able to just kind of grab the ball and pass so easily compared to a wooden stick. Wooden stick can be temperamental if you're not holding it right, or if it's a little bit more humid one day, the leathers are pulled a little tighter, and then all of a sudden it hooks a little bit right or a little bit left. So that is kind of the nice thing about the plastic sticks, is you can kind of just pick one up and go. I mean, I think either way, summer rules are always going to be a little bit different. Ideally, it'd be great to see both leagues play the same. It would make that transition easier, but summer leagues are always going to be a little bit different, I feel like. At least how it seems.
Like, how'd the draft process go for you? Like, is that something you knew you were getting drafted, or is that kind of something that came out as a shock? Is that something you're also waiting by the phone to hear your phone ring, or is that just kind of you're going about your day doing your own thing, and then when it comes in, it comes in?
Yeah. So it was kind of, when we made it to the Minto, I kind of had half a thought of like, oh, if So I did pretty well. Like it might be worth going into the draft, kind of thinking about this and that. I think our captain at the time, I can't remember if it was Braden Lady, our captain, or Kalen Mander, one of our other guys who had been drafted by Halifax. Lady was playing for Vancouver, kind of both said to me, they're like, well, if you do well, like, would you put your name in? And I'm like, yeah, like I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, maybe not. So then kind of just kept it off my mind until we went to the Minto Cup. Did pretty well. Like my name got kind of noticed, brought up a couple times after, especially after our first game against Orangeville. And then after the tournament was over, we had exit interviews with the coaching staff. We do it every year of just talking about how the year went, what you can work on, what the club can work on, all of that stuff. Travis and Jeff Cornwall kind of suggested to me that there's a good bit of interest around your name. It's probably worth putting your name into the draft. They explained to me the situation where if you declare early as a junior player and you don't get drafted, your name just automatically goes in the next year. So there's no real harm to it because if you don't get drafted, you're just back in the same spot next year anyway. So they suggested to me to put my name in. They said there was some interest from Halifax they had heard. So then I put my name in. I kind of heard an interest from a couple different teams. Nothing crazy, a little interest here or there. And then, yeah, when it came down to the draft day, it was I was watching the draft on TV because they did the first round on, I don't know if it was TSN or TSN Plus at the time, but they were doing the first round of the draft. So I was like, I'll watch it. I don't think I'm going in the first round whatsoever, but, I'll still tag along and watch it. And then after that, it was just sitting there, like kind of refreshing the page, refreshing all the social medias, being like, oh, what pick are we at? Who's picking? All those things. So then I just started seeing teams pick goalies, pick guys off the board. A lot of guys I knew from this or that. You know a good amount of the other guys around the league. A couple of teams that had interest started picking guys, and I'm like, oh, I don't really know. And then Halifax's picks started coming up, and I'm like, this might be it. Like a couple of the teams that had talked to me have already picked goalies, so there's a good chance they're not picking another. So we'll see. And Halifax's first pick goes by, and they grabbed somebody. I don't entirely remember who at the time. And then it was kind of coming up to the next pick, and I'm still refreshing the thing, and I'm kind of thinking if Halifax is going to pick me, it's going to be in one of the next couple picks they have. So I'm still refreshing it, and all of a sudden I'm getting a phone call, and I realized like this probably from Halifax. Like this is what it seems. It was the same number that had called me before the draft, kind of talked to me. I was so nervous that I answered the phone call, but I accidentally clicked twice and hung up on them right away. So I've told that story before. I told one of the media guys at Halifax about it. So then they ended up calling me back, and Mike Kersey was on the phone. He was like, hey, Ashton, do you know why we're calling you? And I'm like, well, I hope. And they told me they were picking you with that pick in the draft.
That's a really cool story, man. And like after you get that the call and everything, like what's the process after that? Do you go right to camp, or is it kind of just waiting around and then once everything gets going, you go?
Yeah, it was I think it was a couple of weeks before camp. Can't remember entirely. It was probably a week or it was about a month, I think. About a month before, so then start getting emails about camp dates and just getting information from me and all that stuff. Yeah, and then just kind of doing my own thing while preparing for it, being on the floor a bunch, working with the spoon, trying to just get as ready as I can for it.
What do you go about doing training wise by yourself and stuff? Are you training with some local teams, or is it just something that you're doing a lot of individual like weight training and stuff like that?
A bit of both. So like I practice with the senior privateers team out of Nova Scotia. They sent a team to the tournament in Prague. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce it. And they also sent one to like the LAX tournament. They sent a team of that. It's a good number of senior guys that are all playing around in different spots in the States for university. A couple played in Ontario, a couple played in BC, but all guys that are coming back and then just playing senior here for fun more so. Then I was also getting on the floor with a couple other the NLL guys that are around here. My older brother had actually gotten drafted to Halifax 2 years before me and had tried out a couple times there, and I met the guys who live here, Max Wilson and Clark Peterson. So I got on the floor a couple times with them, getting shots from them. And then it's usually just leading up to camp. I was in the gym like 3 times a week. I've had a personal trainer with me since I've been working with since grade 8 or 9, I think. So I've been working with him for 5 or 6 years at this point. I've been working with him for a while. So he's helped a bunch of guys get ready for camp from around here. My older brother, Keaton Brown, Lee McGraw, Brett Draper, he's worked with all of us, kind of getting us ready for camps. Just kind of working with him 3 times a week and then on the floor as much as I can get there.
Now, do you find is there a big advantage to living close to market or in market? Because you're basically right there, right? So do you find the guys that are in market, it gives them a slight advantage for like practicing and stuff together?
Yeah, it definitely helped out for game days. It's pretty nice. It was pretty nice to just drive over. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I did actually get released by them. I'm technically not currently with the team. I am a free agent at the moment.
Okay.
A couple teams, but yeah, I was with them all last year for the start of this year. It was a pretty nice advantage of being able to, I was like 20 minutes from the rink from my house and like 5 from school to the rink. So it worked out pretty well. It makes it pretty easy for all the home game travels. Halifax still practices in Ontario in Six Nations.
Yeah.
So I was flying like every Wednesday afternoon to go, or not every week, but just about every week or every second week to go to practice in Six Nations and then flying home Thursday morning. So there are advantages, but there are also kind of disadvantages right now where majority of the guys live in the Toronto area or just around it. So it makes more sense to do practices there. They do also do some practices here the day before, depending on game days.
Tell me a little bit about your time in the ECJLL, though. Like, just give me kind of some memories you have in there and how it helps you really get to that next level.
I first started playing in the ECJLL. It was the year after COVID. So it was the year after basically all the 1999s would have graduated in the COVID season that was missed. So the ECJLL made a decision that they were going to just extend it a year, have all the 1999s play, but not graduate anyone from midget. So it was just or U17, I guess now. So it was U18 and U22 for the year. So I was what would be first year U17 at the time, first year or second year. It's a bit confusing because of all the age changes and everything, but I ended up playing underage for the Dartmouth Bandits. It was pretty cool because my oldest brother was still eligible because he was in 1999s. He ended up getting an extra year where I could play with him. And then my other brother, who the year before had played for Orangeville Junior B, was here, and they weren't really having a league. They were having like a tournament, so they just told him like, it's not worth coming up for like a week's worth of lacrosse. Just stay home, play, be safe, stay safe with your family there with everything going on. So it was really cool. I ended up getting to play with both my brothers, which was pretty unreal, which wouldn't really happen because there's a 6-year age gap between me and my oldest brother. So it was a really good time. We had a really strong team. We ended up winning the ECJLL that year. I ended up starting for most of the playoffs. Yeah, me and the other goalie alternated most of the year, but when I came down to playoffs, I ended up getting the start for majority of it, and it was pretty cool. Then after that, my oldest brother obviously graduated out of the ECJLL, and my other brother went back out to Orangeville to play his last year. And that was the time when I kind of tried to start looking for a place to play. I tried out in Orangeville for Junior B. It didn't end up working out, so I came back and played the season for the Bandits again. I mean, it was definitely helpful. Like it's good lacrosse either way, but it definitely wasn't to the extent that I could have been getting somewhere else. So it was a bit of a mental battle sometimes of wanting to be playing at a higher level and playing in another league that I know I can play in. Because at tryouts, I felt I did pretty well. It just didn't end up working out with the team. But that was also the year for Canada Games, where I had already made that team as the goalie. So it was kind of like, it's not a bad thing to stay back a year, stay in Nova Scotia, and get the exposure from Canada Games.
Well, absolutely, man. Any lacrosse exposure like that is amazing, and playing for your country, it's such a hard. Honestly, I think a lot of players struggle with trying to decide if they want to play for their country, represent it, or if they want to play in these major like these Junior A programs or Junior B programs to get exposure. And they kind of don't find sometimes the schedules overlap, so these players have to make these massive choices at such a young age.
Yeah, the big thing that the coach told me out in Orangeville that year was just they had a really veteran squad and they were trying to make a run for a Founders Cup, and Founders Cup was at the same time as Canada Games. And he actually had come out to coach in Nova Scotia for a while, and he knew a lot of the people around Nova Scotia and knew the head coach of our Canada Games team, and just said like they had conversations, and it was like, he goes, I can't ask you to miss that. Like he's like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to play at the Canada Games, and he goes, we also need a goalie for Founders. Like if we make it there, we can't have you leave. So you have to make a different decision. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, it was an amazing time at Canada Games. I wouldn't pass it up. The way things have went so far in my lacrosse career in general, I wouldn't change how things have went.
How do you mentally recover from making cuts or from getting cut? Because I know a lot of goalies, it's such a mental battle for you guys trying to, keep that confidence up.
Yeah, it's tough. I really do think lacrosse in general, especially goaltending, the mental battle is the hardest part of it. It's like 75 to 90% mental when you're in the net. So honestly, I wouldn't say I even did great at it when I got cut. My first 2 years of junior, I ended up trying out in Ontario both times and getting cut. And just the first couple, there was some games where I'd come back and it was just the right amount of mad of like annoyed you got cut. So I was playing really well, but I was just not in a great mental space sometimes for the game. So it was really had to take a step back and remember, like, you also play this for fun. Like lacrosse is a game that's fun. Sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in how you want to be playing at the best level, how competitive you want lacrosse to be, that it's really easy to forget you're just out there to have fun at the same time. And I mean, it's even something that like I've been working with right now after getting released from Halifax. It's like, I understand the reasonings for why they released me, and with roster issues. It's a cutthroat league. I mean, I don't hold it against Halifax. I get what they talk to me. I understand why I was released. It's just a matter of, it's a hard thing to try and mentally bounce back from, but you got to remember the reasons you do it and the reason you love the game is why you do it. So you just gotta stay tough in it mentally.
My brother was a hockey goalie, so I see him go through it. I have a friend who has a son that's a U14 AAA goalie. I see him go through it. Even my son last year, right? So I know it's you got to be. I always say goalies are different, man. They're a little bit loose in the head. You know what I mean? Like it's funny because you're a younger brother, right? So you get stuck in the net and just kind of you're a goalie because you're told to, and then you learn to love it, right? So but it's funny these. It's almost like you do a lot of talking to yourself out there. I find a lot of goalies just end up, you'll see their mouth moving when they're out there, just kind of talking to themselves.
We're all a little bit crazy. I think we can all admit it. I don't think it needs to say anything hidden. It's the mental part of the game is the biggest part of important games, stuff like that. It's easy to get wrapped up in what's going on and not just going out having fun playing your game. Because if you do that, success is going to come. Like
No,
you have to put more work in and you trust yourself and you go out and you have fun, you're going to do well.
Yeah. What is your plan for this year? Where are you going to be playing lacrosse this year?
Yeah, so I'm going back out to Port Coquitlam again. So I've got one year left at junior. Really excited to play out there. We've got like great guys like Mills and Tui that are going to be back out. It's their last season as well, and we got a couple guys from a trade with the Nanaimo. So we're getting Josh Adey and Adam Wong, two unreal defenders that I got to play with at the end of the year last year when I got sent to Nanaimo for the back half of the year. But I'm really excited. It looks like we're going to have a pretty good team, and I mean those guys are like a second family to me. I love it out there. It's tough being a 7-hour flight from home and a 4-hour time change, but those guys make it pretty easy to be out there. Great group of guys.
I think you guys are going to have an amazing team. I don't want to jinx you guys or anything, but like just the talent I've been looking at for you guys, you're a deep veteran roster. You kind of gone to a couple Mintos already, or sorry, you've gone to one, and then you've got a couple guys who have also gone to multiple ones and they have lost. So I think, hopefully you guys are due, and it's this year for you guys. I'm going to be rooting for you guys, even though I'm an East Coast guy, obviously. But kind of give me your setup out there. Like, is that something that they kind of just set you up with housing?
Both years they set me up with a billet. I've been with two different billets out there. It's unreal. Like they're both great families that I've been with. I mean, even the second year when I was with a different billet family, my first billet family, I was like, come over for dinner. Like, come see us. Like, we miss you. And I'm like, they're just great people around that town. And even when I was just going for a tryout, they set me up with a place to like a family that couldn't house me for the year, but were just amazing people that were helping out and housed me for the first 2 weeks I was there. It's an unreal association out there. They do things the right way. They've set up great billet families. They have all the guys that are from out of town. They get gym memberships to the rec center. I mean, it's just an unreal setup. We have our own locker room and that rink with all our stuff in there. And then the gym's right at like a 5-minute walk from the door of our locker room. And last year when I was out there, I was living with a family where I could walk 10 minutes until I was at the rec center. So it was just pretty unreal. And then they usually set us up with a job somewhere if they have connections here or there. So I was working on Extreme Threats the last 2 years, helping make some sports clothing and all that, sorting some of the jerseys and stuff like that. And they're unreal as well.
So for exam wise for you, are you basically going to be done school, like college or university, before you go out there, or is it kind of like, is there a little bit of an overlap?
Yeah, no, I'm done before. So Dalhousie, I think, is what they refer to like trimesters in I was having a conversation with Cole Kirst about that last year, and I didn't really understand it. But we have like 3 full semesters, it seems like, where it's like a fall, winter, and a summer. Traditionally, we don't have courses in the summer. If you're in co-op, you do like a co-op in the summer, and sometimes you'll rotate where you have courses in the summer. But our exams end mid to late April, and usually our season doesn't start till the beginning of May. So, I mean, my first year going out there, I had plenty of time. I got out like a month early, which worked out for tryouts and things like that. For trying out for the team. And then the next year, I finished exams before I even like remotely was going to leave because we were still playing with Halifax. We were still in playoffs. I just ended up traveling right after that Saskatchewan game where we ended up losing out of playoffs. So I hadn't had school for about a month before I went out to BC last year.
Okay, and like mechanical engineering, like that's not an easy degree to get by any means. I have a couple of people that I know that are kind of running through that. How do you balance training and doing a program like that in depth?
Yeah, a little bit of luck and a little bit of just kind of putting your nose to the grindstone at times. Like, I find it interesting. I've had people kind of ask me about it last year because I was traveling like middle of the day Wednesday to go to practice and then coming home Thursday morning and then going again that weekend to either a game in Halifax or somewhere else. And I was just like, honestly, the kind of lack of time I was thriving off of just like, you don't have time to procrastinate or anything like that. So, I mean, I had some really good professors that helped make it pretty easy. If I had to miss a class here or there, they were pretty accepting about all the notes are posted or like sometimes there's videos of the lectures and things like that. Or I had a couple of quizzes I had to miss where some of the professors were like, we could just send it to you. You can do it online and do that. And I had a professor where I had to message him after we played in Vegas. Our connecting flight got we did our first flight got delayed. Connecting flight, there wasn't another one for like 4.5 hours in Toronto for some reason. So I had to message him. I was like, yeah, I can't come do the presentation today. My flight from Vegas got delayed. And he's like, oh yeah, no worries. You can do it the next day. It's like, great, thank you. So I mean, it's a bit of a mix of luck, and just school has come pretty easy to me, pretty well the entire time I've been in it. I do pretty well at memorizing things, so it makes it pretty easy in class. But I mean, it's still hard to balance it all. But sometimes when you don't have time to think about all the things you got to do and you just do, it works out.
Do you ever find like they're kind of when you tell these teachers that you're like, oh, I'm playing professional lacrosse, like do they look at you like, oh, lacrosse is professional? Like,
Yeah, they're definitely a little bit confused sometimes. I went to one of my math profs, and I said, like, there was a quiz on Friday before I was going to training camp, and I was just like, yeah, my flight leaves at 3:30 today, and I was like, the quiz is done at like it was like a 12:30 to 2:30 or something like that. And I've done these tests. Like, I know they don't take the full 2 hours, but they make you stay there for the full 2 hours. So I just went to the prof and asked him, like, hey, am I allowed to just leave the test early to go fly out at National Lacrosse League training camp? And she goes, oh, like, just don't worry, just don't take the test. Like, take it when you get back. And then he talked to me about it, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I mean, it's important when you're representing the country. Like, I'm not sure you got what I meant, but I'll take it and I appreciate it. And then we have reading week the next week, so I'd come back like basically 2 weeks later and wrote the test another time. And she was like, oh, how'd it go? Like, was asking me all about it. And at that point, I had known I'd made the team last year. And she was so happy about it for me. She was like, oh, I'm so proud of it. Like, I was like, thanks. I'm not entirely sure you know what I was talking about, but I appreciate the sport either way. So for the most part, they're all pretty good when you talk and you say professional lacrosse and National Lacrosse League. They're pretty accepting of that you're willing to kind of put the work into both things.
yeah, that's funny. That is good because I just noticed that when I talk about lacrosse, sometimes people that don't know about it, they're like they don't really know about the NLL. So trying to get it known out there for you guys and stuff like that. So kind of give me a rundown of like how much of a jump was it going from like playing in Dartmouth to playing in the in Poco.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big jump right away. I'd had a couple tryouts, like I said, in Ontario beforehand. Poco was my first time kind of trying out in BC. Like a couple of tries here and there where like they didn't ever work out, but I had a good feeling like I can do this. I can play with these guys. I know I can play at that level. And then I got up to Poco and it kind of went well for the first bit. But I mean, I still suck and wind a little bit in the first couple practices. I consider myself a pretty athletic guy at this point, but I mean, still it was getting out there to like the speed of the practices were just double of what they were out here. And I was trying to catch my breath for the most part.
Yeah, and like I mean, you guys have had so much success in Poco too. Do you find is that something that has always been there in the culture, or is that something that you guys have kind of helped build as well?
I really think obviously from what I know of, I've only been there 2 years. This will be my third. But I think like when Travis and Jeff Cornwall took over that team with their GMs, Josh Wall and Dave Kidd, I think they really started to bring in that culture of like, we're going to work hard. We're going to build up the program, or we want to be a program like Coquitlam, like New West, like Longtrail, where we're building up and we are a consistent force in the league where we want to compete, or we want to be the teams that are going to Minto. So I think that really has changed the culture of Port Coquitlam. From what I know of beforehand, the team never really did great before they were all there. They didn't do bad, but a lot of the top players that were Port Coquitlam players kind of ended up getting traded away to other associations, whether it was New West or Coquitlam.
Yeah, I mean they're a great franchise as well, obviously. And like, do you find those games when you play them, do you find that they kind of mean more to you guys to win than other games?
Yeah, I think every win out there means a lot, but I think the Port Coquitlam rivalry was a little deeper. Even when I was there for just a couple months, you could feel it in the stands. And when there's a Port Coquitlam game, the stands are full every game. Like, people are coming out to watch it, especially when we had that team that went to the Minto that was pretty strong. You'd have old Port Coquitlam guys coming out in their jerseys to come watch the games and stuff like that. Same with the Admax fans; they'd be out watching the games. So, I mean, I think that brings it pretty well. Of Port Coquitlam's done a pretty good job of starting to bring in fans to all the home junior games, but especially when you get the Coquitlam ones that are nice and close, they really to breed a different level of intensity because of the atmosphere.
Is there a place you really like to like that was your favorite to play?
I'm a big fan of our rink. I mean, it's a little biased, Obviously, but I do love that Port Coquitlam rink. I mean, there's always the history of playing in a place like New West or a place like Coquitlam, but that Port Coquitlam rink that we have with the practically brand new turf we've had for this 2 years now. The new rink, nice and like air conditioned, so it's not like you're playing in a Delta or in Nanaimo where a bit of a hot box in there. Still hot, but it's not too bad. That's the nice thing, and I love playing on the turf. Uh, Coco and Langley are always good ones to play at, but Coco can be a little tough to play at sometimes with their fans, but it's always I do enjoy playing there a lot because of the rivalry between the two teams. I mean, it's kind of a ignore thing. I mean, it's a little. I honestly find it a little bit of a pump up when you're kind of getting yelled at and guys are trying to chirp you from the stands because you're obviously making a big enough difference in the game for them to care to do it. That's a big one. I've always found like I had a couple times out here where before Canada games we were playing a New Brunswick team in a tournament in New Brunswick, and there was a bunch of I'm assuming it's a bunch of their buddies or older siblings and such sitting up in the stands, and they were just laying into me, chirping me, and I'm just like, I love this. I'm living off of this. Like if you're trying to chirp me from the stands, I'm clearly doing my job right. I'm making some good saves, and I'm making the game hard. So I've always loved that to an extent. Like, I mean, I don't think I ever got the full brunt of it when we were playing Coquitlam. It was usually some other guys were getting kind of more of the brunt of it. And I think it came worse at like, especially on that Minto at the Orangeville guys, they were kind of going at them more. And it's probably because there are some bigger names on that team of guys just about everyone in the lacrosse world knows. So, but I mean, yeah, if I've always found if you're getting chirped at or you're getting yelled at by the fans, like it's usually because you're doing a good enough job to warrant it.
I know the fans in lacrosse can be a little bit crazy. I know fans in hockey can be crazy. I do find just being for my kid playing last year for his first season, I find lacrosse doesn't seem as toxic is the best way I can put it. Like with the parents and just with even the other players, I find a little, or not so much the players, more like the fans, right? Like, do you find that, or
I'd say it's hit or miss. You still see it. Like, there's still definitely a lot of chatter that goes on, especially at the NLL level. Like, fans think they can say just about anything to any player just because they bought a ticket. Like, obviously, we want to be professionals. We want to kind of distance ourselves from that. But I mean, it's going to happen with any sport. I would say it's to a less extent, but that's also probably because lacrosse is less popular. So you get less people that are out there doing that. But I mean, there's still, if you're looking around, there's still always those kind of toxic messages towards players, especially in the league. But I mean, you just kind of got to work to ignore it and just work on your own game, kind of prove them wrong.
from like I'm a parent, like so I always like to ask these kind of questions. How do you go about from a player's point of view? How do you go about being a good supporting parent but not overbearing? Like I want to be, for me specifically, I would like to push my son in whatever he's good in, but I don't want him to like. I'm not trying to like live through him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, that's a tough thing because it's a hard line to kind of play with. I'd say, like, I mean, I never had my parents coaching me when I was really young. Like, my dad coached one of like my type teams or something like that, but I never really had like the parent coaching or any of that. My mom was always like a manager, so she knew what was going on in lacrosse, but never to a crazy extent. Yeah, I don't really know how to. It's a hard one to play. Of like, you want to help them out and you want to give them advice, but I think it's just got to come from like a positive way and like when they're prepared for it. Because if they're not willing to hear it, it's not worth trying to say because then it's just going to bring up like the kind of animosity between you. I don't know. I had with my mom one game where she was like, "Oh, I don't think you played very well that game," and I was like right after the game, and I was just like I was right fired up because it was a game. It was when I was still playing here, but it was a game that like I didn't think I played bad. I had a lot of shots. I made a lot of good saves, but there was a lot of like wide open opportunities that I scored on. I was just mad that I looked bad at that point, and I was just like, I kind of lost it. I know not like what not to say now. I'm like, yeah, it happens. I mean, I appreciate her trying to help and everything like that, but I think it's just kind of knowing your kid and knowing the time. Because I mean, advice is great, but if they're not willing to hear it, it's not worth saying.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I try to just kind of, it's kind of one of those things. I think every person's different. So I think some kids react to things differently than other kids would. And it could be the exact same approach, just different kid won't work and whatever. So that's interesting. It's just, as a parent, it's just trying to balance that, I don't want to be on him after the game, but also I kind of just like kind of let him talk to him. And I kind of just more ask him questions and let him respond, I guess is the best way I can put it.
I think that's a big thing. I try and do that with I do a good bit of coaching around here. Whenever I'm in Nova Scotia, I try and coach a lot of the goalies, and it's a big thing of like, you can tell a kid something so many times and they're not going to get it. But if it's coming from a point of like them asking, you go up and, hey, what happened there? Like, what went wrong there? What do you think? If you get them kind of engaged in it, I find it often breed the conversation that you want and you can get the point across.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so I'm going to actually be coaching for the first time this year. I told them I'd coach, and if they had anybody more experienced, please let them go ahead, because I obviously know the game, but I've never played or anything. But I am going to be coaching this year, so I'm going to be coaching U13. So kind of some advice. What should I be focused on? Just mainly basics, or should I be looking into more strategy at this age, or what would you recommend?
I think it really depends. Like, often with our Nova Scotia like U13 teams, I'd say it's pretty comparable to a team in New Brunswick. You want to, it's a lot of the basics. There's a lot of kids that don't really know what's going on in lacrosse yet, so we often do a lot of drills where it's more passing, catching, picking up the ball, all that stuff, working together as a team. But it's also initiating those starts of the strategy of like getting the kids to try running pick and rolls and working on that stuff in practice so that when they get in the game, they start trying to run things like pick and roll, and all of a sudden gets wide open and gets the pass and go shoot and score. So it's things like that. But I mean, it's a hard thing to say of like it really depends on the group, I feel like. And I haven't done a ton, like I do some coaching here and there, but it's been more so geared towards coaching the goalies up around here.
What did you find that you like in a coach when you, especially when at that younger age, but even now, what do you find that you like as a coach or in a coach?
When I was younger, like I don't remember a lot of a lot of things my coaches said when I was younger. I remember a good bit of what the goalie coaches said. I don't entirely remember what the head coaches said. The big thing I do enjoy now, especially with Travis and Jeff out in Port Coquitlam, is they're very honest with us. It's or especially me at this point, they can be blunt, but it is what you need to hear at the times, and they don't you're not trying to cushion and save your feelings in that manner, especially at junior. We're practically adults. Like they can have a conversation and say like, "Hey, this isn't working. You need to work on this." And I really appreciate that. Like before the Mitchell Cup, my first year, Travis looked at me and was like, "You need to work on your passing. Your passing hasn't been up to the level it needs to be at. Like you got to figure that out before we go." And you know what? I started working on that. It was weekdays I was going and just passing to a bucket on the floor. Like it's things like that I really appreciate from Poco and Travis and Jeff Cornwall. They're very open with me of what I need to work on and things that need to be fixed. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there like is there a place you really like playing in the East Coast? Is there somewhere that sticks out here for you?
I love playing in the Dartmouth Junior A barn in Shearwater. It's kind of unmatched. I don't know if we still play there. I think they played there last season, but I know it had been closing early to put ice back in the past couple of years, so they had to move to Cole Harbour Place for like playoffs and things like that. Cole Harbour Place is a cool rink to play in as well, but it's something about Shearwater, especially growing up watching my oldest brother play for the Bandits for so many years, where they had won 4 or 5 championships in a row in Shearwater. It's kind of unmatched there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, what do you find the crowds that for these games are like? Are they loud? Are they do they come out in support?
Yeah, they've been pretty good. Obviously, that COVID year, it was a little bit rough because I don't know. They weren't allowed fans for a while, and then it slowly started kind of ramping up with the numbers you were allowed. My last couple of years there, though, it was pretty good for fans in the stands. I remember pretty vividly, though, when I was younger, it was always great. There was a bunch of young kids running around, and those were the guys now playing in junior with me. They were running around, going to throw the ball in between periods out on the floor and things like that. So it really kind of built up the atmosphere in there, and I think Sackville does a pretty good job of that now, pulling in a pretty good crowd in their rink. And I believe Bandits still do the same. I just know Sackville's pretty notable of having a lot of the youth lacrosse kind of sticking around to watch the games. They plan a lot of their practices to be like right an hour and a half before that their junior A time, so they get more people out, things like that. So I mean, it's pretty cool to see that the ECJLL can pull out a pretty good crowd every now and then, but obviously it can always be better.
So about the NLL, do you watch any of the NLL, or is that something like how much game tape do you watch in general?
I watch a lot. Usually, like the nights, obviously now not playing. Obviously, before when I was playing, it'd be like the nights we play, I wouldn't usually watch any of the other games other than our own. And then the next night or the night before, depending on if we were playing Saturday or Friday or Saturday, I'd end up watching just about every other game that's on, multi-screening it, trying to watch every game as intensely as I can, but obviously having one a little bit bigger, watching more intensely. So, I mean, it's been the same thing now. I watch them all in a weekend, and it's kind of funny. Like my whole family's kind of gone that way of like I'll be sitting there watching one of the games, and then I'll get a call from my brother who's at his house, and he's like, "Did you just see this on this game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I got that one up as well." And even before that, like especially last year, I would try and rewatch games or watch games of the teams we were coming up to play against. Big thing that they talked to me about the Halifax coaching staff last year was like the way to take your game to the next level is watch guys, watch how they shoot, watch where they're shooting, stuff like that. So before we go into a game, even though being a practice goalie, I know I'm probably not going in, but I'd still watch the games, watch the shooters, take some notes, get notes of where guys shoot. And if Warren and Hutchie were talking about it, then I'd bring up some of the things I saw. Like obviously they're also doing this. They're watching the games. They're knowing where guys shoot. So I don't want to like interrupt and be like, I think I know better than them. But if they're talking about it and it's a conversation, then I'll try to bring up things I saw and see if they saw it as well.
Is there like as a goalie, are you watching more other goalies to try to get better that way, or are you watching players, especially in that NLL level, obviously, are you watching players to see what their tendencies are?
Bit of both, really. especially when I was younger, I was watching a lot of the NLL goalies or the junior A goalies, especially when the OJLL started streaming around when I was coming into that like U15, U17 age, which really helped out getting to watch those goalies that are playing that are now like NLL stars that were playing in the junior levels, get to see kind of what they do and move from there. Especially the old man cups. I watched the Langley Peterborough one in Peterborough quite a lot when I was younger, just because even on a smaller net, I was a pretty big kid at the time, but even still, I was smaller than obviously those guys are on those big nets. But you got to see a lot of what these goalies are doing, how they're moving. Their stick side hips getting picked on a lot. They're trying to shoot there, so these guys are moving like that to make those saves. I mean, those were some really good goalies at the time playing in those games. So it's watching a lot of that, but it's also watching the players you could play against and seeing what they do, how they hitch their shots, how their hands are looking when they're shooting, stuff like that. If you can see any of it, obviously on some live streams it's more zoomed out, so you're only seeing, okay, from this point of the floor this guy likes to shoot here, things like that. But sometimes it's nice if you get the real close-ups videos on social media and you can see like, oh, a guy's like turning his hands up when he's shooting from low and that's why it goes up high. Okay. Things like that too.
Now, do you find, like, from what I've seen so far, I find the younger goalies are getting more mobile, or kind of can move around the net a little bit more, where the older goalies is kind of just like more of a stand up, take the whole net up and try to take up space. Do you find that as well, or do you think that's just something I'm misinterpreting?
No, I think you definitely see it. I think that's kind of a result of seeing the guys play in the NLL and kind of younger goalies basing their styles a bit more off of that. In the NLL, you have to move a bit more with the smaller six. You guys have to be ready to move, where it's kind of moved away from those goalies that would just stand up. I'm going to stand here and make the save. I think it's a good way to move, but it's also, I've always kind of followed when I'm playing. I want to set up. I want to be set in a good position, be ready for the shot, and use my athleticism when I have to. Rely on my athleticism for every save, but I want to be able to use it to bail me out.
Yeah, absolutely. I always just think of like a Rylan Hartley style, because he's so like all over. Like, not saying he's all over the place. He's a really good goalie, but
Yeah.
he very much moves more than like a Warren Hill, for example, is what I noticed. Right.
Oh no,
Now,
100%. I remember watching him at I want to say it was 2019, the Minto Cup, when I was out in Langley. We were at Lacrosse Nationals out West that year, and I just remember watching him in those Minto Cup games, and I was like, what is going on? This guy's insane. Like, he is just playing unreal. Yeah. I mean, I think it works for some people for sure. And I mean, Hartley's a smaller guy, so he plays it really well to his advantage, but I don't think there's any one right answer for any goalie. Everyone's going to play a little different. You don't see two guys that play identical in just about any league, NLL and down.
Now, obviously, I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you have, the hit last week that Rylan Hartley made on Vancouver there. Can you kind of just walk me through your thought process on it? Because, like, I don't really understand. I mean, obviously, you're not going to speak for him or anything, but I don't understand where his mindset was at, because it was like a 1-1 game super early, and it was just, I don't know. How do you see that play? Do you find that's a dirty play, or do you think that's more on the player? What's your opinion on that?
I don't really know. I think they kind of added rules into the rulebook because of it. It's just like, it's a bad situation for both people. I obviously don't know what's running through Hartley's mind at the time. I met the guy a couple times. He's an amazing person to talk to, but I also know from my brother was in Orangeville when he was playing in Orangeville. I know him relatively well, and he's a guy that plays pretty all or nothing, hard on his sleeve. He's going 110% the whole game. So I can understand how you can kind of just get into the mood of like getting a little pass. It's not a play I would make. I don't think I'm fast enough to make that play. He covered that space pretty damn quick. So, I mean, I would have probably taken my chances on the breakaway, but I mean, like I said, I think from what I know of, he's a guy who's 110% into the game at all times. So it's just kind of plays like that happen with him. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair enough. I just found, I mean, it depends on what angle you've seen it. I've seen it from two different angles. The one that was going around looked a lot worse than the other one. It did look like he did stop up and then kind of, it didn't look as contacty as from the right side that it did the left, I guess is the best way I can put it. But at the end of the day, it's still just, I don't know. It's kind of, it's a dangerous play. So it is.
Yeah. In no manner. I think even if that was a player in the situation making that hit, they're probably still giving him a penalty. So it's just, I think it just carried away. But I mean, I was kind of just impressed that he made the save after that on the empty net. I don't know how you're running backwards and drop into the splits and ready. So, I mean, he's an unreal goalie, and I think it might just be a mistake from his behalf looking back at it. Maybe he'll throw another one. I don't know, but I can't speak to that. Well, I'm sure we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think he's a great guy too, and everything I've seen on him, and he's a great goaltender too. It just stupid play, stupid mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, and luckily no one's seriously injured from it. So hopefully we can move on from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of give me some, some players you like to watch in the NLL. Other than, is it goalies or is it players that you're mainly looking at? And is there anybody that you really like enjoy watching?
Yeah, I mean, I do do love watching a lot of the goalies. Like I do watch for players, but I obviously have a little bit of a bias towards the goalies. So like a couple of them I love watching is obviously like your Del Bianco, your Rylan Hurley, another one. Seeing the athleticism that he can play with is unreal. I also like watching like a Nick DeMood where I feel I play kind of similar to him, where he is more of that stand up older style goalie positionally, but then still moves when he has to. And obviously like Warren Hill as well, having played with him for a year and a bit, watching him a lot in a lot of games and a lot of practices. I like to try and take things from his game, take things from Drew Hutchison's game as well. He's another unreal goalie. It's just, I like to try and watch as many as I can and take a little bit from everyone's game. I think, like I said, there's no one right way to play goalie. It's what works best for you. So I try just about anything guys are doing and see if it works well for me.
Now, what's your opinion on like players in the crease? Because I know as a newer fan, even I'm a little confused by some of the crease rules here. Like I do have a good wrapping. I just don't agree with all the crease rules certain
Are
times.
you referring to like the like crease dives or more like the new rule this year with the like block shots in
So
the crease?
yeah, so one of my a couple things that always stand out to my mind is the goaltending where like players are laying in the crease and then stopping shots. The league hasn't been great, or the refs. It's such a gray rule how it's been written. First off, so nobody really knows how to call it. But also, I always go back to that Ryan Lee hit on Dobson there this year, where he kind of went through the crease, hit him. The community's very split on this, like the fans. Like I personally think Lee was at fault in that. A lot of people say Dobson kind of leaned into it, took that extra step. I don't personally think that's the way it was. But what is your thoughts on a play like that? And
Yeah, I mean
because
that one I
they're
remember
co-talented,
watching.
right?
It
So
kind of looked a little bit both ways of like, do I kind of think Dobson took an extra step maybe to try and give Lee a shot? There's a good chance that that is kind of what he was trying to do. Either way, I don't know how that was a goal after. I'm
yeah,
confused by that. I don't know how you can hit the goalie out of the crease and then even because no one's in the crease, they can shoot and score. I mean, good for Connor Knock for scoring that one. I mean, I think that was his first goal. He's a damn good player. Like, it's good to see that. But I'm very confused on how that was allowed. I think there is just a lot of gray area with the crease rules and can be confusing. Like, in training camp, we had the refs were explaining all the exhibition games about the whole new block shots in the crease rule. And then first couple of weeks of the season, it seemed like it was getting called a different way. If you're kind of in the way at all in the crease, even if it wasn't intentional, that we're getting called. So it's hard to say. I think there's a lot of gray area in there, and it'll get worked out as most rules do. Like beginning of my first season, they were kind of changing the rules on the one of the limit how guys were holding. And that first training camp, there was a lot of penalties for holding in just about every exhibition game. The start of the year, it started getting with a lot of penalties, and then they kind of narrowed it off and found like that happy medium. So I do think that will happen with kind of the new crease rules. It's just hard to start out that way. Like a new rule that has a good bit of gray area and has a bit more ref discretion is gonna take a while for them to kind of all zone in on what they agree on.
yeah. I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm not a fan how they kind of rushed it in there too. I guess, but it is what it is. I just kind of. I think that if a goalie's in his crease, I guess I'm just for safety and just to me it makes logical sense. Like if you're in your crease and a player makes contact, that should be on the player in my opinion. If you're outside the
Yeah.
crease and then you make contact with the player, I think that's on the goalie. That's kind of
And
the way I
I do think that like in that especially that Ryan Lee Dobson situation, I could even see the art. I don't know if it should entirely be a penalty if the refs deem that like Dobson kind of stepped out and made contact. I don't think that should be considered a penalty either way. It just I don't think the play should continue in that situation. Like I don't think Colorado should be able to pick up the ball and shoot it when Dobson's behind the net because a player ran into it. He should have free movement in his crease, and it should just be like blown down in that situation. But obviously, I don't make the rules. I'm not a ref in the league, so I obviously don't know what their decision with that is. But I feel like you should be able to move where you want the crease as a goalie and not be interrupt, like not be a bad player. Yeah,
kind of if you're in the crease, I think that's kind of your like little safe bubble in my opinion.
yeah. I still think it's kind of the same situation though, as like if one of your own players kind of gives a person a little bit of a check as a guy's going to crease dive,
Yeah,
and then they run into you that way. It shouldn't be on the player who got checked into the crease,
yeah,
but like it also shouldn't like they shouldn't be able to pick up the ball right after and shoot score. Like
yeah,
that's just my opinion, at least with it. Of it, goalie contact is still going to happen accidentally, and like I don't think everything needs to be an immediate penalty for that situation. But I don't think, especially in that scenario, that it should be able to be a goal. I think just for player safety, well down.
yeah, absolutely. And like, so just one more quick question before we get you out of here. I've kept you here forever. I could go on all day. What's your opinion on like sixes as a format? Because I know there's a lot of fans that don't like it. I kind of think that there needs to be tweaks, but it has a lot of potential, and it's obviously going to be Olympic style. So I'm trying to get behind it. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I honestly haven't watched a ton of it. It doesn't entirely spark my interest as much. obviously play box goalie in box, and then in field, I've always played long pole. So it's like kind of just there's no in between for me in sixes. But um, I don't know. It seems interesting. I do kind of agree with you that from what I've heard, it could use a couple tweaks, and I think as long as they're open to kind of make tweaks and changes as they go, I think it can be a big, I think it can be a big thing, and it can be good for the sport. But I think it's major. We have to kind of not get in our own way of box fans just being against sixes because it's not box, or field fans being against sixes because it's not field. I say that not having watched a ton of sixes, but I mean, when it gets to like the world stage, when you get the top players in the world playing it, I'm going to be watching. I'll be right along everyone else, cheering teams on, cheering players on, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's going to kind of get their heads around it once it's actually in the Olympics and it's on. But I definitely think there's potential, and yeah, it's just kind of just something I always like to ask people because it's such. I know there's a lot of people who really don't like it. And I find more Canadians are kind of they're like stuck on box, man. And I love box. Box is the best version by far, but. And unfortunately, we don't have box in the Olympics yet. I hope we get there one day, but sixes at least is going to get us that exposure and help grow the sport.
Yeah, I think any lacrosse in the Olympics is a win for all lacrosse. So I mean, it'll be good to see either way. I mean, we'll definitely see how it goes when you get the top players playing it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thank you for being on, Ashton. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you giving me this much time. And if there's anything I can do for you going forward, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Well, I think I'm all good. Just thanks again for having me on. I always love talking lacrosse, so uh, I'll never be really mad about it. For sure. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, buddy. Well, I'll be watching you guys in Poco this year, and I'm definitely a Poco fan. I'm gonna have to get a jersey to hang behind me and get you guys all signed it. But yeah, man, I'll be excited to watch you guys. Good luck this season. I'm rooting for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so again, I want to say thank you for Ashton for coming on. I'm going to be cheering for Poco this year. As much as I'm an East Coast guy, as much as I die hard, I think the OJLL is the place to be. I have to say, how can I cheer against these guys? I've had Levi Tui on, I've had Josh Mills, and now I've had Ashton Brown on. Man, this is my team, man. I'm going to be getting a jersey, and I was talking to them already, and I asked them if they would want to jump on together closer to like a playoff or whatever. So hopefully I have them all back on. If I have two of them or three of them, it's going to be great. Those guys are hilarious, and I get along with all of them. So I'm rooting for them. They all deserve a Minto. They've all been there and lost. Tui's done it twice. So has Josh. And I'm really, really, really rooting for these boys this year. If anybody deserves a Minto, it should be those guys. And then they can all go on and hopefully have successful NLL careers. And if not, they're all very, very smart guys. So they're gonna be successful in whatever they are, whatever they're into. But thank you, Ashton, for being on. Really appreciate it. Great East Coast kid. And when I'm in Halifax, I'm gonna have to reach out and see what's up because I would love to have bite to eat with him or something. Anyway, let's get right into the week, the deep dives for the week. Okay, we're gonna go through each game here, and you know what? Let's start off with We're gonna leave the banger till the end, I think. So we got Calgary versus Ottawa right off the bat. Okay, 4,611 was the attendance numbers on Calgary. Anasio having another amazing night in the face-off draw, 16 for 23 for 69%. Cook took one face-off and got it as well. Tanner Cook got 3 goals, 2 assists. Tyler Pace, 3 goals, 2 assists. Hayden Dixon, 2 goals, 2 assists. Riley Lowen with a goal and an assist. Noah Manning with 2 assists, as well as Masuka with 2 assists. Brandon Mayo with an assist. Braden Leahy, Jack Follows, all with assists as well. You had Braden Leahy also had 10 loose ball pickups. So shout out to him. That's a grinder of a stat. You also had on the other side, you had Jeff Teat getting 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists, just absolutely killing it. Robert Hellier, a goal and 3 assists. So he's starting to slow down a little bit, 4 points total. Jeff Teat also got 7 loose balls, which is massive. Connor Kiernan with 2 goals and assists. Riley O'Connor with a goal and 2 assists. Sam Firth with a goal and 2 assists. Sundown with 2 assists. Travis Longbow with a goal. Matt Mariner with a goal. And Callum Jones with an assist. He had 4 loose balls as well. So there you have it. And you had Reed Kurtz going 7 for 23 in the faceoff. And Cole Beagley lost 1 draw that he did end up taking. That's for the goalie stats. You had Aiden Walsh getting 56 shots, 46 saves, 82.1 save percentage. Really good game for him, honestly, and still lost. Then you got Zach Higgins with 54 shots, 45 saves, and 83.3 save percentage. So Higgins was absolutely lights out. This was a battle of the goalies a bit as well, obviously, by the scores there. There were some absolutely massive saves. I watched this game. I watched actually all the games. I had multiple screens going. The only actually one that I didn't get to, I was switching between the Buffalo and the Georgia game, those ones, but every other game I pretty much watched fully because I had enough screens to watch them. Now I'm watching 2 games or 3 games at one point. So, you see what you see. You do miss some stuff. I will say that. Overall, great game. Ottawa got 2 in the first, 4 in the second, 2 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. Calgary got 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. Tight game. It was tight. It was honestly like The biggest lead by Calgary was 1, and the biggest lead by Ottawa was 3, so it was very tight. 37 minutes for Ottawa leading, and 12 minutes for Calgary, and they both had 3 as their longest streak. Longest stroke, Calgary had 17 minutes, where Ottawa had 13.5. Not too bad on the penalties either, realistically. A bunch of minors. Nothing crazy. But there's your first there's a Calgary game. Calgary is, unfortunately, they comp short a lot. And this isn't surprising though. They're a rebuilding team. I like Aiden Walsh. I think overall, like he's had some really good games, some really bad games this year, but he's got a lot of potential. And he's ready to be a starter now, right? It's gonna be interesting to see what Calgary does the next few years. It's unfortunate that they don't have their first overall pick this year, or their first round pick. It's just sad to see that, because that's gonna end up being like a top 3 pick for sure, probably a top 1, unless I think they just go by based on reverse order. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, so there you have it. There's the first game of the week, or there's the Calgary Ottawa game. Ottawa too. Saying to Ottawa, they need to be better than what I seen the other night. They can't just be Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague carried that game offensively for them, and Higgins really stood on his head in a lot of ways to give them that lead as well. That's closer than the scoreboard says. It was a very, very tight game. So next we got Oshawa versus Toronto, 6,119. So again, you got to get this number up. They have the capacity to do it. I don't know what the issue was. I thought this would be more of a bigger turnout between Oshawa and Toronto. They got to sell that rivalry. I like what Alex Simmons did in the first game. Unfortunately, he just didn't have anybody really do that in the second game, where Toronto won, and they could have kind of fired a shot back. I didn't really hear anything that really stood out to me like the Alex Simmons comment did after the win when they beat Toronto at the beginning of the year. So this rivalry is going to brew, and I'm hoping that we can get some get more kind of diehards at each building between each other and really get it going there. On the Oshawa side, you have Dawson Speed getting 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points. You have Alex Simmons getting 1 goal, 4 assists for 5. Ty Kurtz, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4. Tyson Williams with a goal and an assist for 2 points. Ethan Walker with 2 assists, as well as Jackson Nishimura. And then Emerson Clark got a goal. Tiger Clark got an assist. Mike Byrne got an assist. Will Johansson got an assist as well. You had Mike Byrne also going 16 for 26 in the faceoff. And on the other side of things, Chris Booth, she got 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists. Same as Josh Dawick, same stats, 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. You had Chellan Rogers getting 3 goals, 2 assists. Owen Hiltz getting 2 goals, 2 assists. Mark Matthews getting 3 assists. Again, Craig getting 2 goals. CJ Kirst getting a goal and an assist. So it's a little bit of a slower night for him, but still, you can't deny that he's just fantastic. He's still just killing it. Then you got Phil Mazuka with 2 assists. Chris Weir with 2 assists as well. And you had a bunch of guys taking faceoffs. The major one though was Josh Jubinville going 8 for 22, so not great. And then on the goalie side, you have Dougie Jameson, 50 shots, 39 saves with 78 save percentage, and you have Halifax Troy over there with 51 shots, 41 saves for an 80.4 save percentage. So again, very close goalie battle here. To be honest with you, these numbers would be amazing any other season. This season, it just doesn't seem to be good enough. You have to get into that 81, 82, even 83 save percentage to really give your team a really good shot. And it's crazy when I've looked over the stats, how much that's elevated this year from previous years. Even last year, it was only about 78, 79%. There might have been like one or two goalies that were over the 80. Now it seems like all the goalies are getting 80 save percentage. So, it's weird because it's funny because they put that rule in to, stop failures out of the crease. Did that actually help the goalies? It seems like, I don't know. You guys tell me, but now it's just the goalie's responsibility to stop the ball, right? So, and the net wise anyway. It's still the defense to obviously help him, but I don't know what it is, guys. I watched half last season and I've watched this full season, and I've just noticed the goalies have been absolute lights out when I'm comparing stats, because I'm like a historian. I go back and look at all the stats from previous seasons, and in this season, it's we're way up on goalie saves. It's definitely come back down a little bit to reality, but it's still holy cow, man. Toronto went out scoring game. Honestly, the beginning, I was like, holy cow, man. Just nothing was going in. Goalie battle back and forth. Again, I watched this game as well. This was actually the one that I was really I was hoping for Oshawa to win, because I love Oshawa, our overall team. And I think Toronto, to me, is a dark horse to win the championship this year. I know everyone's going to think, oh, you're crazy, but if their veterans produce like they have in the last couple of weeks, and then with a little bit more elevation, and then you also have Nick Rose come back. Nick Rose is a better goalie than Howachuk. I know some people disagree with that. I personally like Nick Rose. That's just my own thing. Nothing. Troy's not a good goalie. I just think Nick Rose, if you're going to give me those two, I'm taking Rose every time. And I think once he comes back, and then you have, if the rookies can still consistently play at this level, Sam English gets back in there. You have Latrell back in there now. This team's going to be scary headed into playoffs. I wouldn't be, if they go deep this year, I'm not going to be surprised, because they have the team that really to do it. When you look at it, they've got goaltending, they've got defense, they've got the forwards, they've got the team. If they were just a bit more consistent, they had a better start, I guarantee you right now, we'd be looking at Toronto like Colorado, like how Colorado is oh, they're the most complete team in the league. We'd be saying the same thing if Toronto was healthy, and if their veterans would have stepped up right away, and they would have had more wins, and we'd be sitting here saying the same thing about Toronto. So I think Toronto is definitely a super dark horse to make the if I had to pick up one dark horse right now to go win the championship this year, I put my money on Toronto because I don't consider Colorado a dark horse anymore. And Saskatchewan's obviously not. Georgia will be another one that I'll be like, yeah, they have a shot. But the way they've been playing, everyone's talking about them too. So a team that nobody's really talking about, or not, I don't hear it as much, is Toronto Rock. And they are a dark horse contender this year. I'm telling you right now, just wait and see. You'll see. Well, if they, as long as they continue to play with the same goaltending, where you get that 78, 79, 80 save percentage like they've been doing, and they've even been getting up ahead of that, they get the goals, the veterans keep going, and the rookies keep producing like they have been. They are a team to be scared of. Then you've got, so Oshawa's longest drought was 20 minutes, over 20 minutes. Toronto's was 13. Most of the time when you see teams have droughts over 20 minutes, it's not a good sign. Then you've got longest streak for Oshawa was 5. 0 was their biggest lead. And then Toronto was 3 longest streak, and 6 was their biggest lead. Oshawa definitely made a comeback at the end. Just wasn't good enough. You have 47 minutes with time with the lead for Toronto as well. Few penalties, all this stuff. Great fight between Gash and Clark. Like, I got to give it to Clark. Everyone's like, oh, Gash won that fight. I disagree, to be honest with you. I watched it, and I didn't think he got that. Like, the fact that Gash cracked Clark like 3 solid impacts and he didn't fall, I'm sorry. Like, Clark's fucking tough, man. Does he have the belt? You see him after the fight, he was putting the belt because, yeah, I gotta go with. He might be the toughest guy in the league now. Like, I hope they go again when they play again, because those two are both fucking tough, man. And the fact, it was such an old school fight where they just grabbed each other and just started throwing. It's, dude, like, I know I talk about fighting a lot and I love it in this league. I don't think I could do that as a fucking, I'm going to try to fucking dodge you. I'm not going to fucking sit there and get punched in the face on purpose. Like, I'm going to try to do some head movement. These guys were legit just standing there, just pounding on each other. There's an old MMA fight with in Pride over in Japan where Don Fry and what's his name? Yoshihiro Takayama. When those two were sitting there and they just, go watch it if you guys haven't seen it. It's crazy. That's what this fight reminded me of. It was the same thing. They're just standing there, banging, banging, banging. It's wild. Now those two are professional fighters, right? So it's different. They're both UFC, or they're both MMA legends, hands down. And that's what this took me back to. That's exactly what the same thing was. So shout out to that. That was a great fight. I'm a big fight fan. I love seeing it. I think it's a great part of the game. And I know some people don't like it. And you know what? It's part of the game, boys. It really is. It's one of the best parts of the game too. It's just amazing. I love seeing a good fight. I love how if there's some bullshit going on, a fight just ends it. I love it, right? So that's just my opinion on it. But it was done. This is it. They can go on the rest of it. They can go on fucking. They can win the rest of the games. They're not making the playoffs. So what do? Are they sellers? Do they sell? Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Okay, so they don't sell. So then, because who are you gonna move? I said in today, what are the chances in the Discord today? What are the chances Alex Simmons gets traded? Because it's gonna be sad to see Alex Simmons finish top 5 in points and not make the playoffs. And there's I remember Patty there was saying, Patty Gregoire, he came in and was like, a negative 25% chance. And I agree. I do. At the end of the day, I do agree. Unless there was a condition that he goes back at the end of the year or something as a complete rental. I don't know. Anyway, but I don't see them doing it. This trio is good. Dyson's having a really down year. 2 points to see this last game. It's more Dyson than anything, I think. And I hate to put it on one player because it's definitely not on just him. But I think if you want to pick on somebody that sums it up, it's Dyson. If Dyson was playing better, this team would be winning. So, especially with the addition of Theed, putting up 5 goals. Alex Simmons kind of took a little bit of a back seat this game, goal-wise, but he's still he still had 5 points. We need to see more out of Dyson. I say that every week, and to me, I said he was my dark horse for an MVP this year. I'm right there. So I don't know, guys. You guys tell me. You guys, do you think Oshawa still has a chance? I don't, but this is the thing. I love Oshawa. I do. I love underdogs. I'd love to see them go on a run and try to pull a playoff thing out, but I don't think it's in the cards for them this year. It's not written in the stars. They're not making the playoffs, and it is what it is, man. That's all it is. It is what it is. Why bring Dawson Theed in? Maybe they flip him. Maybe flip Dawson Theed before the deadline to another team. Try to get some assets back for him, because obviously I'm assuming you brought him in to try to push for a playoff spot, right? So that's not happening. So maybe flip Dawson Theed for assets. Go trade him for another first rounder. Who knows? You never know in the sport, but Buffalo could use him big time, right? Buffalo could use a player like Dawson Theed in there, and you never know, right? And Buffalo's in the same position, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So, all right, let's go into that game next. Let's go into the Philadelphia Buffalo game. So Buffalo, over 19,000 fans, amazing, cream of the crop, the pinnacle, whatever. Buffalo should be studied by every other franchise. And what the heck did they do to get here? And then do it. We got to sell the community, okay? Sell the game. Do something. I think it's a big thing though, because their other sports teams were so bad for so long that I think that helped. But Buffalo is is a special place, and to pack 19,000 fans in when other teams can't even get 5, it's something's got to give. So we gotta figure out what the heck's going on there. Every team should be doing assessments of that and asking the why. What why? You got Kyle Jackson for points. You got Kyle Jackson putting up 12 points, 5 goals, or sorry, you got Kyle Jackson putting up 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points. Michael Sowers, 4 goals, 1 assist. Brendan O'Neill with 4 goals, 1 assist. Joey Rez with a goal and 4 assists. Sam LeClaire with a goal and 2 assists. Eric Fennell with 3 assists. Scott Dominey with a goal. Blaise Riordan, Chris Corbell, Nick DeMood, Ryan Wagner, all with assists. Huge. Then on the other side, got Dane Smith with 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. You got Ian McKay with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. You got Josh Byrne with 4 assists. You got Kyle Buchanan with 2 goals, 1 assist. Clay Scanlon with a goal and an assist, same as Lucas Nielsen with a goal and assist. Steve Priolo with a goal and assist coming in. Cam Wires with 2 assists. Tahoka Nanakok with a goal. Paul Dawson with an assist. So huge, guys. Josh Byrne. I mean, his numbers aren't bad. Like 4 points isn't bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Josh Byrne-esque. And right now, like Dane Smith is Dane Smith, right? Like Dane Smith is, I mean, still on top, 7 points. Ian McKay's still playing great. Josh Byrne needs to kind of kick it into that next level because right now, to be honest with you, another goal or two in this game could have went to Buffalo. So it's almost like they're missing that little piece. Nick DeMood, though, as much as you can't take this away from him, like Nick DeMood was absolutely fantastic in this game. 57 shots, 46 saves with an 80.7 save percentage. And Matt Vince, you have 47 shots, 34 saves with a 72.3 save percentage. So Matt Vince, and I heard I listened to Buffalo Sports Collective. They always go over the Buffalo. They always go over everybody, but they go Buffalo in depth, for obvious reasons. They obviously have a bias to them, but I want to give them props for how unbiased or how not unbiased, how objective they look at Buffalo because they do a really good job at actually critiquing Buffalo and actually looking at them and being like, okay, this is what we're doing wrong. They break down every goal. They break down and they'll say, this was on Vince, this wasn't on Vince, all this stuff. I just really like the way they talk about Buffalo because they're not these guys that are going to die hard stand behind their team and not that they're not going to be fans and they're not going to be hopeful that they're, I think that's kind of what I strive to be. That's what I try to be anyway, but that's definitely the level I would strive to be if I ever did get into a fan base here. Right. So, because I would, part of me really wants to become a fan of a team because first off, I'm a crazy fan. So I know that I could help get the fan engagement up, but also like, I kind of like being objective. And the thing is what I like about the, like Buffalo Sports Collective is they are objective. They really are, even when it comes to Buffalo. So anyway, huge game for Nick DeMood. Really won Philly this game. Buffalo got 3 in the first, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. And Philly got 4 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, closing it out. Strong clutch. The longest drought was 11:23 for Philly. And Buffalo, it was 12:44. 4 was the longest streak, 2 was the biggest lead, and 3 was the longest streak, and 3 was the biggest lead for Buffalo. Time with the lead was 23 minutes and 57 seconds for Philly, and 14 minutes for Buffalo. Yeah, Steve Priolo got a 2-minute for a legal cross-check. That was a little bit of a rough cross-check, I'm not going to lie there. Nanako got a couple little minor ones. I mean, one for roughing, one for goaltender interference, which was a weird call too, if I do remember correctly. And then like the goaltender interference, it was a weird call. I remember watching that. I was like, what the fuck? But again, I'm watching so many games, but I'm like, that it just didn't. I don't think that call made much sense to me. I can't remember exactly, so somebody can correct me. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I think that one, if I remember correctly, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck, right? So again, just my 2 cents on that stuff. So Philly is pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. I think everybody can somewhat agree with that. Even though they've got this win, this was like kind of a, I don't see them unless they go on a massive run. I did say that at the beginning of the season. I was like, for some reason, I do have a funny feeling that Philly's going to, kind of do well this season, but there was nothing backing it. I just kind of had this weird feeling against them. My head was telling me, no way, they're not. And we're at pretty much where we thought Philly would be at this point. Like I said, I was like, I don't even know if they're going to win another game, to be honest with you, the way the schedule looked, because they have a hard schedule too. But this is for Buffalo's side of things, a great win on Philly, okay? Great win, great morale win. I'm assuming they're going to be looking at moving Joey Rez eventually. They've got a nice young group of guys there. Nick DeMood's a great goalie. They've got some pieces in there, even on the back end as well. It's just more time with this team. Buffalo, on the other hand, at the end of the day, if they miss the playoffs this year, guys, they've been to 5 finals. They've won 5 finals in a row. They've won 3-peat champions. Like, you can't take anything away from this team. Eventually, every dynasty crumbles. It happens to every team in every sport. This might just be the year for them. You're already seeing it, right? And I think what gets them is that it's the respect level of them being a 3-peat champion, but they're not the same team that won the 3-peats, right? So, and I know they've retooled before. This isn't a retooling situation to me, in my opinion. You've got a goalie that's older. Like that's all. This is going to be his last season, especially if they can somehow go on a run and win and go in and win the championship. You might see rumblings of him come back for another one. But the way he looks to me right now and his numbers and stuff, it's probably time to hang them up. Like I'm not saying that he's still not a fantastic goalie. He is, but it's just, is he the same as when I watched games before? No, he's getting older. You know what I mean? All that stuff. It's probably, especially if they don't win, he's definitely going to hang him up this year, I would think. And if they do win the championship again, then you got to kind of come back, probably ride for 5, to be honest with you. But the way this is looking right now, I don't even know if Buffalo's going to make the playoffs. Okay. And I'm going to run through, I did this last week too, or last week or whatever, another podcast. But I want to run through just Buffalo's remaining schedule here because this is do or die. Okay. So they played 8 games. So they have 10 games left. And they're 3-6 right now. Sorry, 3-5. They're 3-5 right now. My bad. So they're 3-5. They played 8 games, right? They've got Halifax next. That is a season ender. Whoever loses that game, you might as well just start tearing down. Or not Buffalo, maybe so much, right? Whatever. Who knows what Buffalo's going to do, right? But like Halifax, that's a must win for Halifax. That's a must win for Buffalo. I think both teams need to win that one. So that's going to be a shit show. I do truly believe if whoever loses that game, they're done in the playoffs. Like they're not making the playoffs. Whoever loses this game is not going to make the playoffs this year. So that's coming from Buffalo. And if Buffalo pays good odds, I'm going to put some money that if they can lose against Halifax, they're not making the playoffs. Right? So you got Halifax, which is a toss-up, right? Both teams are kind of on a slump. I do think Halifax has had a week off. They're coming off a week. Flo has lost 4 in a row. They're going to lose 5 in a row, more than likely, in my opinion. It's going to be scary. So then you got Vancouver, you got Saskatchewan. So you have Halifax, Vancouver, Saskatchewan. Then you got Toronto, which is another team that I just talked about, a dark horse team and they're going to want to win that game because it's the one game of the year. Toronto has been beat up the last few years by them. They're at home. I'm going to see that game live, and I'm hoping Toronto wins that game, honestly. Then you got Colorado Mammoth, another team that arguably the most complete team in the NLL right now. Then you got San Diego. Then another game against Saskatchewan, another game against Vancouver, a game against Rochester. That's probably going to be fighting for a playoff spot at that point. And then finally an Oshawa game, which I think at that point it's not going to matter, but we'll see. But that is a hard schedule. That, I think, might be the hardest schedule I've seen out of all the teams, to be honest with you. Like, and I don't think people are understanding that when they're like, Buffalo's going to make the playoffs. There's nothing to talk about, right? I don't know, guys. I honestly don't know. I don't think they are. Right now, if you're like gun in my head, I need to, you need to choose which one you're going to, like, do you think Buffalo's going to make it or not? No, I don't. If I had to put $100 down, if you had to tell me, put $100 down if Buffalo's going to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, after looking at that schedule, I'm going to say $100 not making the playoffs. With the way I've seen them play, they don't have enough depth scoring. Dane Smith cannot do it by himself. Josh Burns seems, I don't know if he's injured or if he's off or whatever, but this dynasty is officially is basically over. What they do in the offseason, that's a whole other thing. I don't know. These guys have played a lot of lacrosse. Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, all these guys have played a lot of lacrosse. And it just might be catching up to them a little bit. Okay, so there's my take on that one. So Buffalo Halifax is going to be the game of the week. It's going to be a game of the season for both these guys, and it's going to be who wants it more. And it's funny because a lot of those guys, you take the Chiefs roster from last year, split them down the middle, basically got half on Halifax, half on Buffalo. So it's going to be interesting to see. A lot of those guys have a lot of history with together, and it's an important game for both these guys. So, all right, let's get into the Las Vegas, Georgia game next. Las Vegas had an attendance number of 4,537. So almost 2,000, a little over 2,000 fans last. So Georgia, I mean, the attendance numbers for Georgia, it is what it is. Everybody knows the attendance numbers are lower. I would like to see them get upped, but they got they're one of the only teams that probably get away with this because they have a owner that this is a passion project for him. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I love actually an owner like that and actually intrigues me to become a fan more. But they got to figure out how to sell this team to these guys down there because it's like this is such a great team and the run they're having. Brett Dobson, the way he's playing right now, like. Get in the building, boys. Get out there. So you have Hammer Jackson going 18 for 25 for a 72%. I'm telling you, man, that guy, he's an animal, man. He is. Like, you just see him. He just, like, loves it. You have Jonathan Donville. With Jonathan Donville getting 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. You have Kyle Killam getting 3 goals. You have Chris Cloutier getting a goal and 2 assists. You got Mitch Jones getting 3 assists. You got Adam Poltres getting 3 assists. You got Jackson Webster getting a goal and assist. You got Ben MacDonald getting a goal. Brendan Goodwin, Connor Kirst, Landon Kells, all with an assist. And then you have Lyle Tom on the other side. You have Lyle Thompson getting 8 points. Lyle is back. 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points. You got Shane Jackson with 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. You got Torrin Eccleston getting 2 goals, 2 assists. You got Caleb Benedict getting a goal and 2 assists. You got Brian Cole getting 2 goals. You got Mike Triolo getting a goal. You got Adam Weidman getting a goal. You got Nolan Byrne getting an assist. You got Liam McGrath getting an assist. You got Jordan McIntosh getting an assist, as well as Ben Trumbull and Kaysen Turbell. Ben Trumbull went 6 for 22, so not great, but you're going up against Hammer there on the other side. Lyle's back, man. That's sick. I'd love to see that, honestly. And then, like, this team is so young. And to be honest, like, I was a big, like, loyal to the Halifax guy. I can't see that happening. There's no way that's happening now. And that's the trade that I was pretty convinced that was going to happen, to be honest with you. But I can tell you now with the way Georgia's been playing, there's no way they're going to be sellers at the deadline unless something crazy comes in. But I don't see them getting rid of Lyle. And I would love to see Georgia go win a championship this year. I'm not going to lie. That'd be sick. So you got Landon Kells, 46 shots, 34 saves for a 73.9 save percentage. And Brett Dobson with 70 percentage, 41 shots, 32 saves, and still only 9 goals against. So, like, I mean, Brett Dobson, I know this, like, this is more of a down to earth game, like a realistic game, which is absolutely phenomenal out of Brett Dobson and out of that team. They're just so hard. Defensively, they're hard to play against. Their defense does a great job playing their game. And Georgia had 4 goals in the first, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. And Las Vegas had 1 in the first, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. And, like, that's the thing about Las Vegas. They kind of are a little bit of a slow starting team, I find. No Frazier this weekend, too. So that's another massive thing, too. Like, I do think maybe if Frazier was in here, they might actually got this game. But with Frazier being out, remember Frick said, oh, Vegas is going to win this game. And I was like, even with Frazier out, like, if Frazier was in here, would they have won? I don't know. It's like, it's definitely way more likely. But Brett Dobson might have just stepped up a little bit harder too, right? So Las Vegas, 12-13 was their longest drought. 3 goals was their longest streak. And they had 0 lead at Georgia. They had 953 was their fifth, or sorry, 952 was their longest drought. 3 was their longest streak, and 4 was their biggest lead with 55 minutes. Yeah, it was a very back and forth game for most of it. I would say the Georgia came out strong. Second quarter was actually comparable, honestly. Vegas went on a little run. Third quarter, Vegas had 1 more and stuff, but it's still tight. And then the fourth, it was a very even game back and forth. I think what really won Georgia the game was the beginning of the game where they went up strong. And that's the thing. Coming out, being ready to play is such a massive advantage that I don't think teams are really like, I don't know if they just don't get their head behind it, but it's like sometimes, I'm just a fan on the couch, right? But sometimes you see these teams go out there and it's like, it just seems like they're slow at first and then they start playing and then it comes to the end of the game. It's almost like they ran out of time. That's what I get a little bit out of Vegas in this game, that they almost ran out of time. And if they would have just started on time, they would have probably won this game, right? Chase Frazier starting in time, they probably would have won this game. Brett Dobson and like that back end, even Brett Dobson away, he was like had a good game, but not like he's been this season so far. Still solid though. But like that defense was really the one shutting him down, containing it all. They're just so good. Next we got Saskatchewan versus San Diego, 12-9 over for Saskatchewan, 4,729. Again, this is not good enough. Saskatchewan needs to figure out a way to market better to get people in here because like under 5,000 fans for a team like Saskatchewan, no. Edmonton had better numbers. Like the Don Box game had better numbers. You got to be putting on 7,000. I think 7,000 should be the number that everyone should be targeting right now. And I want to see 10 plus, like 10 plus, hands down. If you're not getting 10 plus, why? Because there's not just one team doing it. You got Buffalo putting up 19, but you got Calgary, you got Halifax, you got Colorado, you got Vancouver now. A lot of times, 10,000 or close to it. So like, why can't other teams do it? If all those cities can do it, so can other markets. And if they can't, go to another market because they can there. And that's the thing. That's my opinion anyway. So you got, on Saskatchewan side, you got Robert Church with 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Austin Shanks, 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. Ryan Keenan with a goal, 3 assists for 4 points. Jake Boudreau with 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points. Levi Anderson with a goal and assist for 2 points. Matt Achoni with a goal and assist. Brock Haley with a goal and assist. Zach Mans with 2 assists. Josh Zawada with an assist, as well as Ryan Barnable. Adam J also had an assist as well. Then on the other side, you had Connor Robertson with 4 goals, 2 assists. Trey Leclerc with 2 goals, 1 assist. Wesley Berg with a goal and 2 assists. Zach Currier with 3 assists. Dylan Watson with 2 goals. Pat Cavanaugh with 2 assists. Trent Akiko with an assist. Ben McIntosh with an assist. Christopher Origlieri with an assist. Origlieri, I can always have a hell of a time saying that name. And then in the draw, 17 for 25 in the draw with Mr. Baptiste for 68 faceoff percentage. And in the goaltender thing, on the goaltender side, you have Frankie with 49 shots, 40 saves with 9 goals against for 81.6 save percentage. And on the other side, you had Mr. O'Leary with 40 shots, 29 saves, and 72.5 save percentage. He had a bit of a worse game than he has been. Ever since he's been back, he's been having really good games. San Diego came out here to start this, like, they scored 4 straight in the first. Saskatchewan didn't answer. Then Saskatchewan finally came out and answered. And then it was kind of Saskatchewan took over the game after that. You had Saskatchewan got 1, San Diego, then Saskatchewan, then San Diego, then Saskatchewan, end of the half, Saskatchewan, San Diego, 4 goals in a row by Saskatchewan before San Diego, and nothing else in the third for them. So the second half, San Diego got 4 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and 2 in the fourth, where Saskatchewan got 0 in the first, 4 in the second, 4 in the third, 4 in the fourth. And I apologize. I was going on with Saskatchewan. This was not Saskatchewan. Sorry. This was in San Diego. So let's go and look at those attendance numbers again. I apologize. Why? What's the issue here? This was a Saturday night game. This is what I heard when I was talking about attendance numbers from San Diego. Well, on Fridays, it's hard to fill. But so yeah, longest row for Saskatchewan was 17 minutes, 29 seconds. Longest row for San Diego was 14-12. Both had the longest streaks, were 4 goals in a row. And the biggest lead was 3 by Saskatchewan, 4 by San Diego. Saskatchewan only held the lead for 15 minutes and 40 seconds, where San Diego held the lead for 40 minutes and 28 seconds. And yeah, San Diego just can't seem to. They do that a lot, where they start off strong and then the other team will come back. And for them, like Vancouver comes to mind, where they come back and they kind of shut it down. This game, they just could not shut Saskatchewan down. You can't do that against a team like Saskatchewan. Okay, now we had the main event, the one game of the week, the game that everyone was looking forward to. We had Rochester versus Vancouver. Vancouver had 9,349 fans. Really good crowd. I would like, again, to get over that 10,000. They already had one with over 10,000, so I'd like to see that again. You have Vancouver squeaking out a win here, guys. This was way closer than I thought it was right away. We had the preseason game, or the preseason. We had the pregame fight, which I thought was fucking amazing. Now, I will say, I have to agree with BSC on this one. I wish they would have waited until everyone was in their seats, because it would have just helped sell the game, sell the fans, all that stuff. With that being said, I am kind of glad I got it over and done with, because it kind of just got it out of the way, right? Like, this was a lot of build up. Hartley decided to play, which I thought was a dumbass move, and it kind of looked good at what happened to him, to be honest with you. I like Rylan Hartley. I know that, again, I've been talking shit about him for like the last week, but I do like him. I think he's a nice guy, but I think to appeal his decision and to play this game, just sit out the game. Don't appeal the decision. Sit it out. I know it was like, the league automatically does it, or the Players Association automatically does it. Sorry, the Players Association does it. Just tell them not to, because like now you're gonna be out. Now you're gonna be out next game when your team really needs to win, and you could have Hutch get in here and probably had the same result. So but Rochester, I mean, they came out flying at the beginning of the game. I was like, oh, this is not good, boys. I remember saying, I was like, does Vancouver know they're supposed to be winning? Like, they can't lose this game after all the fucking shit that went on. And I think, to be honest with you, I said this. It's like, maybe all my fucking trash talking online really got to Rochester and got him fired up, right? Because I in the interview with Ashton, you hear him say that, where the shit talking gets him fired up. Maybe Hartley and Rochester are like that, and there's me just spewing off online, and maybe not me, right? There's tons of other sports media guys, but me especially, I've been spewing off about Rochester, and I've been tagging all the like Rochester and stuff like that. So it could have got back to them. Some guy with yellow hats on there just fucking talking about shit about you guys. And I did a big thing about like a hype thing before the game for Vancouver, and yeah, sorry boys. I think I'm gonna stir them up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie there. So I apologize for that. But at the end of the day, uh, Vancouver ended up winning and they came back and all that stuff. But it was quite the game. So Connor Fields, the MVP, is gonna go back MVP, because he got 5 goals, 5 assists for 10 points. You got Ryan Launchberry with 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. You had Ryan Smith with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. You had Thomas McConvey with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. You had Kyle Waters with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. You had Zed Williams with 3 assists. You had Graydon Hogg with 2 goals. You had Jake Pacino with a goal. You had Taylor Jensen with an assist. He also went 3 for 4 in the faceoff. And you had Jeremy Thompson going 20 for 31 in the faceoff. We're also having 8 loose balls, but he is a faceoff guy. Connor Field also had 8 loose balls. I'm always impressed with that stat when such a high level player has that many loose balls. Then you have Jesse King over on the other side with 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points. Huge. His goals, too, were massive, the goals he scored. Keegan Ball with 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points. Curtis Dixon with 7 goals. Crazy. Curtis Dixon was another one that, like, fucking drugged the slide across the line, I'll tell you that. Adam Charlambides with 4 assists. You got Shane Simpson with a goal and 2 assists. You got Marcus Clowridge with a goal and assist. You got Christian Del Bianco with 2 assists. You got Steph Charlambono with an assist, as well as Ryan Dilks and Matt Beers and Owen Grant with all an assist. Then you have Max Adler, going 11th for 30 in the faceoff. So they had a bunch of different people trying to take faceoffs. I get that maybe they're looking for a new faceoff guy. I really don't know. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys take different faceoffs. Brian Hartley, 11 goals against, 26 shots, 15 saves, and he had a 57.7 save percentage. And you had Hutchcraft with 19 shots, 14 and a half saves. How did that even make any? 14 saves. 14 saves. And he had 73.7 save percentage. And on the other side, you had Del Bianco. Del Bianco didn't have a great night. He had 50 shots, 35 saves with 70 save percentage. Oh man, that's rough. That's actually a really rough game. I didn't realize it was that bad, to be honest with you. But he did look, I was even looking at him, I was like, when I was watching, I was like, it seemed like I don't know, man. It just didn't seem like he was on that game or something. I don't know. So down night for him. You had Vancouver getting 7 in the first, 6 in the second, 2 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. And you had Rochester getting 5 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and 5 in the fourth. And I'm telling you guys, this was insane. The back and forth. Rochester did have the lead for 10 minutes. Vancouver had it for 46. Longest drove for Rochester was 13:55. Longest drove was for Vancouver was 9:42. 7 was longest streak for Vancouver, and 6 was their biggest lead, and 3 was longest streak, and 2 was their biggest lead for Rochester. And as you can see, like Vancouver in the first, once they got going though, they were going, but holy cow. But the fourth here, specifically the fourth, that's insane. The fourth quarter, so it was Adam Charlotte Beatty that scored the game winner technically. But like the fourth quarter, Rochester came back. Like Rochester was down 15-10 heading into the fourth quarter, and they lost 16-15. Oh, no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, mind. So yeah, so anyway, like Rochester, Connor Fields getting 2 in the fourth. Keegan Ball getting the only goal in the fourth for Vancouver. Vancouver almost blew this game, boys. And that's the thing, like Christian just wasn't great this game overall. So there you have it, guys. So first off, my player of the week, just in general, I gotta give a shout out to Subak, man. He was getting a lot of hate online saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be a role model, blah blah blah." Like fuck you if you think that. Subak is a great guy. He's involved in minor lacrosse, I'm pretty sure, does a lot of coaching. And I can tell you right now, that's exactly what I would love him to be my son's coach or be a role model for my son. He did what he had to do, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I know, one of the things Adam Levy did was say, "Oh, you almost hit a kid." Like, and I don't think Adam Levy was meaning it like this. I think it's just kind of chaos on the thing, right? Kids were there. I'm sorry, buddy. Like, you should teach your kid how to get the fuck out of the way if two men start scrapping. Get the fuck out of the way. Okay, so obviously it's a little bit of shocking stuff. All the ball boys and stuff were a little bit shocked. Glad nobody got hurt kid wise or anything. Glad nobody got hurt in general. But it is what it is, to be honest with you. If you don't like it, don't let your kid be out there because it's a possibility of happening. I think in this situation it was must called for, and I think that the fact that he did it pregame, it just kind of settled things down for the actual game. So I think that it was a needed thing to happen. Again, like I said, I personally wish it would have happened kind of in the first quarter there, get it out with, and then everyone would in their seats. It would have, it went pretty viral, to be honest with you. You can't even argue that it didn't go viral because I've never seen that before. I made a response video to it, and it was one of those things that is just like, it blew my mind that it was actually happening. It was just, again, another thing that makes lacrosse so special, and the passion with these guys and the way you stand up for your teammates and all that stuff. So I think Subak is my #1 player of the week. Offensive, dude, there's so many guys like that come to mind when it comes to like offensive player of the week. But right away, I'm gonna have to go with Curtis Dixon for 7 goals, and just because it's such an impressive number, to be honest with you, that's all it is. You could do Connor Fields, you could Jesse King. Yeah, I mean Jeff T carried his team. There's so many guys that you could argue for sure. I'm gonna go with Curtis Dixon, man. That's my offensive player of the game, player of the week. Defensive player of the week. This one's always have a harder time picking. You know what? The defensive player of the game, or the defensive player of the week for me, I'm gonna give it to a guy on Philly that I thought stood out is Alex Pace with 8 loose balls, 1 caused turnover, and a block. I just think that Philadelphia, with the way they stopped Buffalo, everyone counted them out. That defensive core played fantastic. They have a great, like Alex Pace is only 27 years old. Like these guys, Philly in another couple of years is going to be scary with like their American-born team. Their team America, honestly. You got Michael Sowers, you got Brendan O'Neill, Joey Rez, Captain America, to be honest with you. You got a lot of good guys over there that are the American-born guys. And Alex Pace, man, is just, I don't know if he's American or not. He might be. No, he's from actually Halifax. Shout out. He's actually a Halifax boy. Shout out to him. And he's my defensive player of the week. And for my goaltender of the week, this is usually pretty easy, but I know, oh, you know what? I'm going to give my goaltender of the week to a Mr. Zach Higgins. 83.3 save percentage, 9 goals against, 45 saves on 54 shots, standing on his head. Higgins this is the thing about Higgins, okay? I think Higgins is, when he's on, I still think he's one of the best goalies in the league. The problem is with him is consistency. He just needs to be consistent. You see him have these massive games, and you see him have these lulls. So for me, I'm going to have to give it to Higgins, I think, this game, because I don't think... Yeah, so Zach Higgins, there you go. Zach Higgins is my goalie of the week. My rookie of the week is going to be Owen Hiltz. Absolutely huge night for him, or a huge week for him. Big contributor out there, always just in the spotlight. 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. CJ Curse is usually overshining him. And that's the thing, when you've got 2 guys with this amount of talent that are rookies, it's hard. Like CJ Curse is probably gonna be rookie of the year, but Owen Hiltz, he has had 2 or 3 games that have been better than Cursed this season, and the preseason was amazing. So it's interesting. There's definitely I don't want to say there's an argument to be made there because I do think CJ Cursed, just by some of the games he's had, I still think he's pretty much the front runner. But Owen Hiltz, in another league, in another world, in another year, he would be the rookie of the year. Like he's so good. And the fact that Toronto gets both these guys, that's why I'm calling them my dark horse to win the championship, because they have such great kids that are ready to step in right there, right? So, okay, let's go into the standings. So I'm going to run through the standings with you here, guys. So we got Saskatchewan sitting at 8-1. Are they going to lose a game the rest of the year? I don't know, to be honest with you. Colorado, 6-2. A lot of people are saying they're the best team in the league. I still got to give it to Saskatchewan right now. They're so hard to beat. I don't know if they are beatable. You have Vancouver Warriors at a 6-2 as well. Georgia Swarm at a 6-3, which I'm surprised about. But the way Brett Dobson's playing in that back end and everything, Lyle's really starting to get into his thing. So they're going to be a scary team. And even their young depth guys are scoring too. Then you got Toronto Rock, which again I think is my dark horse to win the championship at this point. Ottawa Black Bears, like I've always said, they're also they're 5-5. They're 50%. Like I've been saying from the beginning of the season, if there's one team that can win the playoff, to win everything, or make the playoffs, sorry, it's them. So hopefully they can squeak in. They're sitting 6th right now. Then you got Las Vegas at a 4-4, Rochester at a 4-4, San Diego at 4-4, Halifax at 3-5, Buffalo at 3-5, Philadelphia at 2-6, Oshawa at 2-6, and Calgary at 1-7. You have Calgary with 0 home wins right now. You have Oshawa with 0 away wins at 0-6 on the road. So that's not good. But on the bright side, they've got a lot of their home away wins already out of the way. And if the trio can really start stepping up and Thede can continue to, produce like he did the other day, this weekend here, you never know. But just looking at Oshawa's schedule, they've only beat Toronto and they've only beat Halifax. And like I always say, Toronto could probably be a loss. Actually, Halifax, I'm surprised that they came in there, but they played fantastic against Halifax. So then you have San Diego. They've still got to play San Diego, which I think they beat San Diego, to be honest with you. So San Diego on Valentine's Day. Then you got Ottawa. Then you got Philly back-to-back. Then you got Rochester. Then you got Calgary, and Buffalo. So in all fairness to them, they do have, quote-unquote, an easier schedule with playing Calgary and Philly twice. You've also got San Diego, which I think is a bit of a mirage. Then you've got Ottawa. And you got Ottawa's been up and down, hot and cold. And then it depends on how Zach Higgins shows up that night. And then you got Buffalo. So if they can win, they've got 8 games. If they can win the next 8, there's a chance. There is a small chance that they still have a chance. And to be honest with you, I'm looking at this. They're not out yet. They're not out yet. I said they were out. They're not out yet. They're not out yet. They're not done. They're not done. I'm sorry. I know. I'm like I'm hopeless when it comes to this stuff. I fucking have this weird place in my heart for Oshawa, bro. I don't know what it is. It does. It's the storylines. I love this fucking team, man. Oh, they still have a chance, bro. I thought they were done. I've been saying they're done. They're not done, bro. They're still fucking got a chance, which, if you're a fucking Oshawa fan, boys, you got yourself a fucking storyline situation here. We have a storyline situation here, guys, with Oshawa making the playoffs. There's a chance. There is still a chance Oshawa makes the playoffs. I can't believe that. Right up until this point in the podcast, I would have said Oshawa is done. I just looked at their schedule. They beat San Diego. They beat Ottawa. They beat Philly twice. All of a sudden, they're 6 and 6. Or no, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, they be 6 and 8. They got to go on one hell of a run because they got to finish 10 and 8. So they got to go on one hell of a run, man. But by looking at their schedule, there's a chance Buffalo week 21 is going to be a hard one. And that might be one of those games that it's like, okay, you got to win this one. But I don't know, man. This fucking sucks, man. I would say Ottawa gets them, but I think they're going to get the Seals. I think they get Philly twice. I think they get Calgary twice. It's going to be Ottawa, Rochester, and Buffalo. Can they get those teams? And we'll see. We need a better version of Jameson. That's for sure. We need him to be better. But it's not over, boys. It's not over. All right, so now let's go into the point leaders right now. You got Jeff Teat leading the league with 73 points, 28 goals, 45 assists, and 7.3 points per game. Almost 20% shooting as well. 70 loose balls, 44 turnovers. Just crazy, man. So he's right now keep in mind, he's played 2 more games in Connor Field and Keegan Ball. But right now, he is 12 points ahead of Alex Simmons. Alex Simmons has 25 goals, 36-6 with 61 points. And then you have Connor Fields with only 8 games played. So Alex Simmons has also played 10. Connor Fields has 26 goals, 34 assists for 60 points with a 7.5 point per game total right now. And Keegan Ball is right there as well with 18 goals, 41 assists, 59 points for 7.4 points per game total. Massive, guys, massive. And Keegan Ball is shooting at a 25% shooting percentage, and Connor Fields is shooting at a 23% shooting percentage, which is massive. Then you've got Robert Hellier with 20 goals, 38 assists for 58 points. Dane Smith with 20 goals, 35 assists for 55 points, 6.9 points per game, still huge. Ryan Launchbury with 14 goals, 37 points, or 37 assists for 51 points with 6.4 points per game. Mitch Jones, you have 18 goals, 31 assists for 49 points. And you have Austin Shanks and Riley O'Connor tied for 10th with 29 goals for Austin Shanks, 18 goals, 29 assists, 48 points. And Riley O'Connor has 13 goals, 35 assists, and 48 points to round out your top 10 there. Ladies and gentlemen, loose ball leader is Zach Currier with 99. Guys, that's insane. Jake Withers is obviously right there with also 99, but he's in the face-off circle. Zach Currier is not. And then you have Callum Jones with 90 loose balls. You have Jeff Teat leading the league with 44 caused 44 turnovers, same as Clark Peterson, and Alex Simmons has 43 as well as Clark Peterson, sorry. So they're leading the league with turnovers. And Callum Jones has 20 caused turnovers. Oh my God. Nick Chawoski has 17 and Michael Grace has 16. So it's crazy with Michael Grace, the way he is just absolutely, his numbers are just insane, guys. Just insanity. So there you have it, guys. Let's do my power rankings as well while we're here. Okay. We'll go over our power rankings. So obviously, not much has really changed this week, I don't think, on mine. So we've got Saskatchewan at the pole position. Then you got Colorado next, Vancouver. Georgia's at fourth for me. They just keep winning. Toronto's still in fifth. Like, nothing's moved there. Number 6, man, who did not much beat. So it gets a little bit mucky here because it's so, I mean, there's nobody that. Number 6, I'll give it to Ottawa. Ottawa set up in that 6th spot this week. I'm gonna put a Vegas at number 7. I just think if Vegas would have had Chase Frazier, I do think they actually probably got that win this week. And then I'm gonna go with Rochester in number 8 right now. Rochester, the performance they put on coming back against Vancouver, they've lost 2 in a row, but they're also playing Vancouver back-to-back games. So it's like it's no shame in that. And like I said, I think Rochester is a really good team. So there you have it. There's my top 8, boys. Yeah, you guys let me know what you think, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, I don't think San Diego deserves to be in there. I don't think Halifax deserves to be in there. I don't think Buffalo deserves to be in there. Philly, obviously not. Oshawa, no, and Calgary. So I think, like, to be honest, like with you, with the top 8, to me, this week seems pretty It seems pretty, pretty like obvious to me. So that's just my opinion. So let's go over, and I don't know, Colorado's pretty hard to beat. I do think Colorado takes this game. Then you got Buffalo versus Halifax. I'm taking Halifax at home. I think Buffalo, the skid is going to continue. The panic will get worse. And I think Halifax, everyone's hating on Halifax. I think Halifax is a great team. At the end of the day, I think Buffalo is in a different spot than Halifax. I think Halifax actually has a really good team. I think Buffalo is just aging. Now, yeah, you could say, oh, Halifax is getting old too. Yes. But I truly do believe Halifax has what it takes to go out there and win games. Then you've got San Diego versus Oshawa. I'm going to take Oshawa on this one. I think Oshawa comes out and takes this one. Like I said, I think San Diego's a little bit of a mirage here, and I don't think they're as good as their record shows, but go prove me wrong. It wouldn't be the first time that you have, and we'll see what happens. We got Ottawa versus Rochester, and I'm going to take, ooh, this is a hard one. Rochester coming off back-to-back losses. Ottawa really needs, I think Ottawa takes this thing. I think I'm pretty sure, yeah. I think Ottawa gets this game. They're away. I think if Higgins can play like he did this week, they get it. Rochester's going to be without Hartley. For whatever reason, they don't play as well in front of Hutch. And I think Rochester gets beat this week. You got Vancouver versus Saskatchewan. I'm going to take Saskatchewan on this one. As much as Vancouver's done absolutely lights out, this is a game that could be like a final preview. This is a banger. I would say if it wasn't for Halifax Buffalo, this would be the game of the week for me. But because that one's going to be so weighted, I'm going to have to put that one as the game of the week. But to me, Saskatchewan at home is almost impossible to beat. So I just don't see Vancouver doing it. We'll see. Vancouver could definitely win this game. And then you got Philly versus Calgary. I think Calgary's ready for a win. They don't have a win at home yet. It's due. Philly just got a win they shouldn't have. They played, decently, but I think Calgary it's due for a win now. Then you got Toronto versus Colorado. I'm going to take Colorado on this one. Colorado's just a complete team. They are playing twice this weekend, so that's going to be interesting. And a lot of times they do split the games, these teams. I will say when Rochester did it, Rochester won both. Colorado's a better team, and I think Colorado gets it. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they play Ward both games. I would like to see Whittam play a game. He's had good numbers when he has been in net, and I think he's ready to start. So I hope he gets one of these games this week. And then final game of the week, you got Georgia versus Calgary. So Calgary's got 2 home games this week. So you know they're going to be bound to get one of these. And I'm going to have to take Georgia on this one. So they're going to get the win in Philly against Philly, but they're going to lose to Georgia because Georgia is not dropping a game like this, especially Brett Dobson. They already beat them. Earlier in Edmonton. And I just think that Calgary, I think the defense is too good. And you already seen what they did against Calgary's defense last time. So Calgary definitely wants to win, man. There's nothing to talk about that. I don't think it'll be against Georgia. I think they get Philly, but they're going to be coming out a back-to-back game. Georgia's going to be rested. Brett Dobson has just been lights out. He honestly had a down game comparing to the rest of the season this week, but he still was really good. So he's going to come back probably better this next week. And Lyle seems to be going, and it's going to be, I mean, they're going to be considered one of the best teams in the league after this weekend, if they're not already being considered that. Top 4 for sure on my list. I think on a lot of other people's lists too. So with all that being said, boys, that's it. That's the episode. This is a long episode, like always, and it's just I got a lot to talk about. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Another great interview. I'm going to keep trying to bring more and more people on. If you're listening this long, leave me a comment for sure, because I love to see it, and I would like to know who's actually listening this long. I always feel like there's nobody listening this long except for me. Like I always say that. I always listen to my own podcast while I'm working, and I'll be listening to this. So Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Leave me a comment if you still do. Join the Discord. Follow the socials if you're not by now. I'm sure if you're still sitting here, you've followed all the socials at this point. I really appreciate you guys listening to me and just go on and on about lacrosse. I love the sport. It's the best sport in the world, and that's coming from a lot. Like I always say, coming along. I didn't think I would ever like anything more than hockey, and I love lacrosse more than I do hockey now. So, with all that being said, thanks for coming. My name is Rick McDonald. I'm in Anything Lacrosse, and this is the game that never sits still. We'll see you guys next time, and let's have another great week of lacrosse.